Hello, everybody. It's your old friends Alan Nerds of Rust, and welcome back to the Best of All Worlds podcast. Here with myself, Jonathan, and the man to know, Captain Jerry Soul. Jerry, Happy New Year.
Happy
Welcome
New
back to the
Year.
show.
Yeah,
Been a
great to
while.
be back. Yeah, it has been a while. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
To the point where when I told the missus that we were recording, she was like, "Oh, really? Geez, you haven't done that in a while."
'Cause she has your like recording centers going like 3 weeks overdue. Hey, what the fuck is going on here, Jerry?
Yeah,
To be fair, she's got a point. But in
absolutely.
any case, we are starting off the new year, ironically enough, by wrapping up last year's arc, which even more fittingly is a time-based arc. So if you're wondering why this is late, I don't know, something to do with time. Either way, it doesn't matter. In any case, we are on the last leg of our arc, and as is tradition with every 10 episodes, we are doing a double header. And we've had great success with the first two we picked, and fair to say we're finishing the arc on a very very strong note with Voyager's Year of Hell, which
Yes.
was such a hotly anticipated arc that it had a preview in a previous episode,
Yeah.
where we jumped into this double header ahead of time just to give us a heads up. Like, oh shit's
Yes.
gonna go down in about 4 weeks time. Don't worry about
Yeah.
it. You know.
This for me when we first discussed the time episodes, and you had said that you had an episode coming up that would absolutely challenge the ranking ones in the number one spot. It was this episode that I thought of because I was like, oh Jesus, this could be the one. This
Mm.
could be the one to really hamper the top. What was the top Deep Space Nine one? What was it called? I've never
In the
remember
pale
the name.
yeah,
What was it?
in the pale moonlight.
In the Pale Moonlight.
Yeah.
So to my surprise, when we did the episode before this one, which was of course yesterday's Enterprise, I
Mm.
realized I was like, oh, that it wasn't Year from Hell, it was yesterday's Enterprise, and of course we were proven right. Yesterday's Enterprise absolutely blitzed in the Pale Moonlight, and what was in Pale Moonlight and
So a reminder: the score would be in the pale moonlight and Quality of Mercy are both currently 91 out of 100. The current leader is Yesterday Enterprise, which is 95.5. So it's 4.5 point difference in leaders. Just as a point of reference, that would be the same difference as say, like Amok Time to the Visitor, which is like sixth or fifth versus seventh or something like that. Now I
okay,
know that's not a great comparison, but that's the kind of like mileage it has compared to the rest of the field. Um, but yeah, so it's the way we kind of behind the scenes, like in terms of like we always kind of work back the way in terms of like the type of arcs that we do. So we have a double header in mind, and we kind of like see if we can kind of follow along with a certain kind of like common theme. So time was kind of like a very easy one to do because it's sci-fi. Like time is kind of one of those very easy things to write about, especially if you're,
yeah,
living in a phone box and get recast every couple of years. But for Star Trek, like they tend to like if you're being like very literal about science fiction where it has to explain to you time travel, sometimes Star Trek just doesn't. It just has a bit of a fun one about it, especially depending on who's writing it. But this one's quite interesting because I think out of all the Star Trek shows that we have, and correct me if I'm and feel free to disagree with me, Jerry, on this one. I think Voyager pound for pound has an excellent back catalogue of two-parters. Like because like you could say the Next Generation and the Deep Space Nine ones may have like one or two kind of meh double headers, whereas all the ones in Voyager are genuinely quite fucking good, and the ones that you don't remember end up being quite underrated.
yeah,
Uh,
and Voyager did a lot.
they did,
You know,
yeah.
when it comes to Deep Space Nine and Next Generation, they tend to do the start of one season or the end of one season going into the next season. Go with
Mm,
that. They might have a mid-season one, and then as it got later on in especially Next Generation, they did maybe 3 or 4 per season.
mm,
Uh, Voyager just tend to do loads of them,
yeah.
and
They kind of fell into that
it was
pattern of
very
having a
yeah,
mid-season finale
yeah,
quite well. Yeah,
and very few of them were bad.
yeah.
Very, very few. I think the one double header that I didn't particularly like, and even though I don't like it, it's there's a couple of aspects of it that are really cool. Is Workforce. I don't.
Yeah,
I was like,
workforce is the
Workforce
one
is
that,
like, eh.
yeah, that's the
But
only one I can think of that's probably the weakest of the lot. But even then, that's
yeah,
still pretty good.
even
You
yeah,
know,
because we actually got not just in a daydream, but we actually got the emergency command hologram. Yeah,
after
I was
being
like,
teased a lot in the previous run, yeah.
yeah,
Um, yeah, because I'm even thinking like the other one that came to mind was the Herodian one where they had them all in the World War II kind of simulation.
I
Like that one's
love
a
that.
bit, yeah, exactly. It's one of those ones where like you love it or you don't. I'm not a massive fan of it, but I'm also kind of traumatized from the Enterprise one that was very similar and was just that was shite. Like that's a good example of where like okay, you can stop doing double headers now.
Hmm.
It's a bit shit. Okay, they did the Mirror Universe one and it was really fucking good. I was like, fuck, they had a point. But anyway, yeah. So that's like I said, Voyager has an excellent track record of double headers. Like we're not really doing it justice here, but just going with the Year of Hell. There's like Future Tens, Scorpion, Equinox is a great one as well. And of course the season finale as well. Caretaker, of course, the opening episode. There's a lot of and basics we mentioned as well with the K's on. So
Yeah,
that's an excellent back catalogue, and I think we're starting off strong with this one for sure. So look, we better get stuck into this, Jerry. It's going to
yeah.
be a
Let's
fun
get in.
episode.
Hmm.
Let's wrap into it. So, as you guys might be aware, if this is your first time watching this show, I'll kind of reintroduce the concept. We are basically going to be watching this episode in full, but this is a double header. So we're going to be watching both parts of this and judging it all as one big episode. So if the first part is great and the second half is a stinker, it gets judged equally. That is the rule for double headers. So if you want to watch the episode along with us, you're more than welcome to. You press play when we do, and we'll provide our running commentary on both parts of this episode. If not, then give us about 95 minutes and then we're going to give our review of the episode itself along with some trivia attached to it as well. But because this is best of all worlds, it's both watch along and review, so that's why we do it this way. So Jerry, if you're ready to start, shall we kick this off?
Yep. Ready to rock.
Let's do it on 3, 2, 1. Engage. Day 1. A modern infrastructure destroyed by a big ass crystal. They turned my city into a
It
civilization map, motherfuckers.
it it starts off fantastic.
Yeah. Literally, the first scene is a what the fuck? It was like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
It's at this point you go, oh shit, Red Foreman's gonna kick someone's ass.
Exactly. It's like, oh no, he's gone bad. He's got control of time. In fairness, you know it's a good double header when they rock out a special guest like that.
Yeah.
It's like Chain of Command when you see it's David Warner under the Cardassian mask. It's like, oh fuck. We were in for a good one. Okay then. Consider me hooked.
You know it's the episode means business
Mm,
when within the first 2 minutes the bad guy says something like that. You're like, oh
yeah.
fuck.
But it's also like it's very kind of telling of what type of episode it is as well, because it's also the episode is kind of a little bit about him and the race as well, to a certain
Yeah.
extent. Because that's how the as it were, the A story is all about like obviously Voyager and this one, but the B story is about their race and what he's rather foolishly trying to do to protect it and to basically quell his grief and stuff like that. But we'll get into it as the episode goes
All
on.
over. I won't say it.
Yeah,
We'll get into the episode.
we'll
But
get
it's
into
all
it.
over a stupid.
Mm. It's all over some emotional damage. There we go. That covers all bases.
Yeah, basically.
Mm. I think like I'd be fully admitted in saying that we haven't really done Voyager justice on this series yet.
No.
Um, which is
Well,
probably
I
partly
I
my
feel I
reason.
feel Voyager is the weaker of all the seasons, all the series.
In this generation, yeah, I'd agree with that because I think the more I'm watching Enterprise back, the more I think it was a very underrated show,
They
and
should have
just
gotten at least 5 seasons.
yeah, I agree. I
We
think
should
with
have gotten the Romulan War.
yes, oh, I think that that fifth season of Enterprise would have been just one of the best Trek ever made because you had the right people in place for it, it just wrong time,
Yeah.
pretty much. Although ironically, if you could say, but Voyager probably went on a bit too long. You might argue. Look at this fancy green screen set. I love as well that like they're really proud of this kind of setup here of astrophysics. And then if you go back to like generations and you see the big fucking like pillar to nowhere that the Enterprise D just had knocking about. It's like
Well, you have to understand the one that the Enterprise D had was built after Voyager went missing.
that's very true. That is very true. And you know what? It just gives Harry Kim something else to do, you know?
Yeah, and he still doesn't get
He does still get a promotion.
promotion.
It was like, hey, you think this project I've been working on might earn myself a field promotion? No.
Like I'm like I would have loved to see him in Picard, and he retired because he never got promoted.
He just kept getting no, he ends up being like he just gets like bumped with the admiral or something because he like decided to just fucking phone it in or something. He fails upwards.
Yeah, here's the fucking doctor now.
I love Janeway's face there. Is like, what in the David Brent is this shit going on?
Yay!
I'm not finished. Even the white man.
Oh, white man.
And we could have done it without you, white Caucasian man. You really are a hero. Oh,
Nope. Shit. First contact. Gotta go.
what was we up, we better go. That's it. As I say, it's like they're firing us, Captain. I'm not sure why. They're oh no.
Yo. Doorport.
Jenny Payne, why
Doorport.
did you say that? That's so disrespectful, isn't it? It's like, oh, look at you, little threat. I'll give you a little yellow alert. How does that sound? Not nice. We, the Zol, all look like Nicolas Cage. You're right. He spread his genetic data into space, and well, it found itself it's here in the Delta Quadrant. Because famously, temporal weapons have absolutely no impact whatsoever. They're nothing to worry about.
Spatial distortion heading toward us. Whatever it is, it's huge. 5 light years across, and it's expanding. Tracking its origin. A vessel near the Sol. What? There could be massive buildup of potential energy. Some kind of space-time shockwave.
Yeah, it's almost like you should have been chatting shit about the Kremen there.
Beautiful. Secure primary systems, all hands, brace for impact.
Ooh, makeover.
Sunscreen. We've done nothing to provoke these attacks.
In our space.
I love the change of politics. Hey, how about them fucking torpedoes, Captain Janeway? Yeah.
State your identity.
Captain Jane, Federation Starship
And your reason for violating our order.
If you're trying to get home, you kindly allow us to pass on.
No. You will submit to the credit of your prefer to seize your vessel before it is too badly damaged. Surrender now, and I will forego the
I don't respond well to praise.
then prepare to be boarded.
Dun 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 dun.
Battle station. Turning into the week of hell.
Oh, what's that siren I hear moving? Oh, it's the episode title.
Get to the secondary hall. Still don't understand why these torpedoes are ripping right through our shields. Their weapons are chronoton-based. They're penetrating our shields because they're in a state of temporal flux.
Which is just cheating, to be honest.
Better part of valor. Get us out of here. Warp 6.
Warp 6. No sign of pursuit.
Damage report.
15 wounded. Main power is down. We've lost environmental control on deck 7 and 8. The computer is offline.
Mr. Kim, do we have any sensors left?
Short range only.
Member. Put the ship on 24-hour tactical alert. Tuvok, analyze whatever data we've got on those chronoton torpedoes. See if you can modify our shielding. And those Kremen attack again.
I mean, that depends if you have the time, Janeway. Sorry.
Worse you get, I swear.
I say 30 episodes in now. I'm bringing out the dad jokes.
And I'm the bloody dad.
Yep. What a Bajoran aesthetic from the time ship, isn't it? It's very kind of browny, kind of kind of color. But we still have this weird eczema on the side of our heads. I'm not sure why. Yes, but what about that 2%?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Our mission has failed. Begin calculations for the next incursion.
Anorax, have you ever heard of uncertainty of measurement? Because 98% is still pretty fucking good.
Why did you pick my fault?
And he'd be right. For instance, why are we wearing plastic on our spacesuits? It's just gets in the way.
I can be for another 10 centuries. Where? Right me over. So many years. Still perceive friends.
Why didn't you just do what I do and just fuck with it? See, it's easy.
Protected from space time and lost return.
Do you make it sound like that? It actually makes it sound more unpleasant. Especially if you're there, like if you're literally looking for 100% completion. You gotta be there a while.
Weapons are down. My attempt to modify the shield was unsuccessful. Captain, during their last exchange, did some damage. Crenna's amp shields are down. They're vulnerable. Gotta hit them now. With what? Phaser banks are burned out. Torpedo launchers are offline.
But my hair is still perfect.
Yep.
Stand by, Doctor. Harry, can you handle it from here? No, sir. The overload's spreading. Half that deck is gonna blow in less than 5 minutes. Doctor, get your patients out of there. All hands, this is the bridge. Emergency evacuation deck 5.
How many torpedoes do we have left?
11.
Arm 4 of them. Stand by to open the launch doors. We're going to deploy them like mines.
I got it.
Now, I need you finish. Let the Krenim get within 5,000 meters.
No problem. Keep moving. Quickly.
Hey, I hope you're glad. I bet you're glad for that hollow emitter, Doctor.
He'd be screwed without it.
Looking sure.
Do it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Open deck 5 are overloading. 30 seconds till they blow.
The noise that you hear in the background there, the emergency noise, and then the computer coming on, it just reminds you, the music even, of Generations when they're trying to get them onto the salsa section.
That's exactly what I'm getting from this.
Yeah.
Well, it's the one advantage of doing this now with CGI because I don't think they'd ever try and do this with the real model.
You couldn't. You'd destroy the model. You'd have to have a brand
Exactly.
new one every week.
That's exactly it. It's the joy of like, especially with Voyager and with the original Enterprise, they take a fucking hammering thanks to
Yeah.
the CGI.
That's all. 2 crew members were killed. Breach.
Stand down right there. Assemble a security team. Survey the ship deck by deck. I want a full damage report.
You can start here where it's a bit fucked. And this is only day 31, ladies and gentlemen. Oh. Going well.
A bit dusty.
It's a bit dusty, yeah. Clearly, whenever the ships are damaged, the first thing that goes is the self-cleaning systems.
Yeah, and how the ship breaks up into rocks.
Yeah, it's easier. It's easier to clean. You know.
Yeah.
Our strategy is stable. It's a good idea to try and create central shielding, but it isn't working.
Not yet, but will. Every attack, we get more information about the current.
I mean, no chance of it take. For long, there won't be a ship left to protect.
We don't have a choice. That's the part I'm not gonna like.
We should consider leaving the ship behind, breaking the crew into smaller groups, escape pods, shuttles, each one with its own course. All goes well.
Not quite divide and conquer, but divide and get conquered much quicker.
Yeah.
Stronger in one crew, one ship. Well, we become we'll get picked off one by one. Now I say we make our stand.
To be honest, I was just fun.
As long as Voyager's one.
Not so lucky, Janeway, is it? No, 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 not the teacup. No.
Bang.
That's it. That's it. Abandoned ship. The teacup is dead. That's it. We're done.
Not so fucking lucky, are you?
No. Why don't you use your replicator on that then?
Victorious athletes, Ruby Square, championship finals, Congress for the Cinnamon.
With our Chol, first and only Klingon to ever play the game in the finals of 23-42. One of the referees called a penalty against his team for Chols.
Finally, some actual future sports.
The famous ship, pre-warp civilization, Montana, second stage, chemical engine.
It's in an upcoming movie. The correct answer was Phoenix. You score 0 points.
All right.
What?
Direct response to your query. The vessel ends communication.
Nice little hat tip there.
Yeah.
We've set up emergency force field between all decks and every section. In the event of a cataclysmic breach, most of us will be protected.
Ingenious.
Actually, if you met Mr. Paris, he came up with the idea. I was inspired by an ancient steamship, the Titanic.
Eh,
The engineers at the beginning constructed
Dear.
a series of sort of like honeycomb. Lower into place if they suffered a major hull breach. In theory, they could stay afloat even with half the ship filled with water.
Okay. Then I recall it sank. I knew you.
I mean, there wasn't a Titanic 2 after all.
Go ahead, Doc. Report to the mess hall at once. They're on the way. I'll be right there. The guy.
That's because the writers leaned on you for everything else. Other than the music kicks in, you're like, oh, death's around the corner. Someone's gonna die.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Dun-dun-dun-dun. Oh shit.
I only realized something recently. Obviously, this was made in the 90s. She
Hmm.
was in her early 20s when they made it.
Yeah.
So it's only when you're looking at Picard and she's obviously Commander 7 and then becomes Captain 7.
Hmm.
But it's only then I was like, what age is she? I didn't realize she was in her mid 50s. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I was like, she's like 55, 56. I'm like, she still looks like I'm 40 this year. She looks at least 5, 6 years younger than me.
I know. It's
That's
not
so
fair,
not
is it?
fair.
No. What are you giggling at? Says the one with the fucking good genetics.
Fucking teenager over there. What? Psh,
Ah.
psh, psh,
Huh.
psh.
You love me, Jerry. Don't lie.
I'm saying nothing.
Yeah.
Dying. That's the first rule of medical triage. Make sure the patient will live, then move on to the next.
I love at this stage, like Neelix must have been like bumped into like, you know, the little cabinet where like he serves rations. It's like, huh? Anyone want a biscuit? Why is everyone crying? I'm the morale officer. I'm Neelix.
My point is, it could have been worse. Had I lost my objectivity, I might have kept the hatch open and everyone would have perished. Man has damaged language.
It was really fascinating, like the kind of, I suppose, different semantics, you know, with how like with the kind of humanity of like say an android is over like the humanity of a hologram. Like he's essentially like an image of a human being.
Yeah.
So it's with the kind of the whatever kind of moral dilemmas they have in this show. The like he is still written basically as a human being, but also as artificial. It's kind of
Yeah.
interesting to see the slight difference in how say Data would be written in the scene.
Hmm.
Now,
What's strange is they did an episode about the Doctor a couple of seasons later about
Mm.
how he had to make a decision about somebody dying. And I'm like,
Yes.
very similar situations, but he doesn't seem to have had the same moral dilemma that he did in that episode, you know?
I mean, you could argue experience got there for him, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, there he is now with the biscuits.
Yeah. Oh, look at him in his new uniform. Someone's got promoted.
He got promoted quicker than fucking Harry Kim.
I mean, we needed a new chief of security, and I think the best person in the job was Neelix.
Mm.
Yeah, the fucking ship isn't.
The bleeding Haggadah. Although they did a great job utterly destroying the bridge.
They did. This is what the episode is very proud of, I think. And this stuff as well now. Like we got people looking objectively worse as time goes on. And Chakotay with a beard.
Chakotay looks like if ever did a universe in Voyager, that's what he'd look like. The hair down, a bit of a dirty look, and that beard.
Yeah.
They did the Warship Voyager, wasn't it?
That's it, yeah. And like we had like Janeway with the gloves and Chakotay had the Samoa Joe fucking face tattoo. Oh,
bitch.
She's right and she's also wrong.
I have to say, the most epic blade I've ever seen for shaving.
Fabulous.
Like I've always wanted, I've throughout my life, I've gotten cutthroat razors. I've gotten it done, you know. Obviously, I don't shave anymore, but I would absolutely love a cutthroat razor just to kind of tidy up the neck and the thing. That's a bit more of an extreme version, but still pretty cool.
I found that like there's that scene there just a little bit harrowing of him trying to grab onto the sink. Like it just tells you everything about what about the accident.
Tell me about your installation.
We've been trying to match our shields to the temporal variance of their torpedoes. But I believe we must also match the deflector range to the inverse of that distance.
Fascinating. When will the deflectors be ready?
They're ready now, but the modifications are untested.
Then our rounds can wait. Take me to deflector control.
Like even that in of itself is actually it's quite grim seeing Tuvok so vulnerable. Because like he would typically be like, all right, come on, let's do it. And now he's suddenly like, oh, okay, where do you want to go? Like even like I don't recall ever seeing a Vulcan with a disability. So seeing him losing their basically the logic and rationality is gone because they have lost a vital sense. And you would think like again with them being so like rational and logical that they'd be able to compensate, but he's very clearly struggling.
Yeah.
Warning. Intruder alert. No suffice.
Tuvok may be blind, but we can still see how much he fucking hates Neelix.
Fucking hates Neelix.
Like, I think he's actually more stressed the fact that Neelix is taking his job.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I know my way.
I can do this.
I
I'm
improvise
okay.
some braille on the walls. No wait, this is more debris. Shit, gone the wrong way. To be fair, I found this way. Like,
Yeah.
Activate tactile interface. Weapon status. Phasers are still online. Torpedo launchers are inoperative.
that you know that's the first time I've also ever seen like that they have that accessibility.
Yeah.
You know, I know that we have Jordy with his visor and stuff like that, but like I haven't seen someone who like obviously physically can't fix it, but that system is still there despite all the damage.
Yeah.
Excellent. Very small
That is-
thing, but
that
very
is really
fucking
cool.
important. Yeah.
Devin, we could use a little bit more efficiency right now.
Can't shake them off. They're targeting the bridge.
Shielding is online.
They're firing. Full port thrusters. Temporal shields are holding. No damage. Panel open.
Burnham vessels. This is the captain of Voyager. You may have noticed we have a defense against your torpedoes now. I suggest you stand down.
No
Nope.
response.
Incorrect.
This is the most badass Janeway I think ever is in the entire Voyager series.
Like it's without saying that like they like she's inherently probably the most stubborn of all the captains of the lot. Probably
Oh,
Burnham
100%.
would give her competition.
Burn.
I was going to
Well,
qualify that.
what's Burnham going to do? She's just going to cry. She's going to cry.
I was with that made that point where like Burnham is. I think you could arguably say she's just a poor character. At least Janeway kind of justifies it. There's an actual, what as it were, a higher thinking about it. Whereas I think Burnham is just irrational
And a crybaby.
and a crybaby. Again, I kind of blame the writers on that. Like you can make the character mature at any given time.
Organisms and structures are being eradicated. Track the temporal wavefront is passing through this system. I want to monitor every change in the timeline as it occurs. The Quantum warship is in pursuit.
He's so good. He's so good.
Captain, some kind of spatial distortion heading toward us. Sensor readings are erratic. I can't identify the phenomenon. What's the source? Unknown, but it originated approximately 20 light years from our position. Looks like a shockwave in the fabric of space-time.
I'm gonna sound it here.
We'll never outrun it, Captain.
Maybe our machines will help. All hands brace for impact.
Captain, temporal shielding has protected us. Wave front has passed. Captain?
Oh my god!
It's a dinky.
It shrunk.
Size. Firepower.
What happened to the warship?
Not picking it up on long-range sensors. Looks like this entire part of space has changed somehow. Last time I checked, this region was filled with Quantum colonies and vessels. I just ran a scan, and sensors show no colonies and just a handful of Quantum ships.
Yes.
You can hear like Jamie's going, fucking yes.
It's mad though, because if they hadn't had their temporal shielding on, they'd probably be in a better state.
Yeah, it's kind of ironic, isn't it? Irrational number. Yeah. You've sunk my Scrabble ship.
No, it's mad because the episode is not that far from being, this particular one is not that far from being over. We're only on day 70.
70, yeah. Like this is definitely an episode that was written to be 2 episodes. Like it's very much plays a long game. I was just waiting for like a blue screen to come up on the screen. I was like, didn't. God damn it.
Somewhat.
Well, it was their planet. Now it's a floating rock. Imagine if temporal security fucking got their temporal regulations got their hands on this episode. Oh my god. If they thought James Kirk was bad, when you see fucking Anorex of the Kremlin Empire.
Yep.
Run another scan of the
The defensive shielding is generating a level 9 temporal disruption. Collect step. Site form 10 square meters of the hull. Shielding. Prepared to initiate effective. Higher vessels in a state of temporal flux. It's like they exist outside space-time. Scanning us.
And they got.
I can't isolate their signal. You're being hailed.
Trust them to pick the 2 most useful people on the crew as well. Why couldn't you just pick Neelix? Like, what's wrong with Neelix? You know?
We come from Earth, planet 65,000 light years from here. We're on our way home. We've been observing some rather unusual events in the region. It seems your imperialism never existed. Perhaps you could shed some light on it.
I think you find I am the usual event button.
A long way from your world. The veteran speaking still alive. Unfortunately, only one of us will go home again. Your sacrifice will restore the lives of countless millions.
That you also killed. Like, at which point, Anarch, you're going to accept that this is all your fault?
I love how she just smacks the ensign out of the way. Get the fuck.
Get the fuck. This is my problem now. You can take my seat. Actually, no, don't.
Trying to erase us from history. I scanned the propulsion system. The vessel's map prevents them from exceeding the warp 6. We can't escape.
Captain, I must remind you, our structural integrity is still impaired. If we go to war now, the damage to Voyager will be extreme. What about Thomas Kelvin?
We'll have to have that for them. All hands clear to our sections and prepare for what? And to prepare for a cocktail.
The shields are failing.
And get more 7.
They're not even big. You're leaving the outer hull. Transfer bulkheads are holding.
Oh, hitting away. Come back and we have a naked Voyager.
Pretty much.
Time we face reality. On 9 days. More than half the ship has been destroyed. Life support is nearly gone. Voyager can no longer sustain its crew. I promised myself that I would never give this order. That I would never break up this battle. But asking you to stay would be asking you to die. You will proceed to the escape pods and evacuate this vessel. Set your course to the Alpha Club. Along the way, try to find allies. Secure faster ships if you can. Anything to get home. The senior staff and I will remain on board as long as possible. We will try somehow to rescue Thomas. The escape pods are equipped with subspace beacons. That's how we'll keep track of them. When we find each other again, and we will find each other again. I expect all of you to be in one piece with some interesting stories to tell. Good luck.
There you have it. And that's part 1 of A Year of Hell already. For a 45-minute episode, it really does fly in, doesn't it?
It does fly in. What I don't get is those escape pods only have basic thrusters.
Yeah.
How are they going to get anywhere?
Exactly, yeah. That's the trouble. I suppose it would be better off than just having the ship peel apart, I suppose, isn't it?
Did you pause it or did you go straight in?
I'm watching the credits here, so give ourselves a little letter points so we can start again. So
okay, because my Netflix just decided to go straight into the next episode.
Okay,
and
well, I'll follow you
and bypass the thing. No, I paused it now. I paused it, so
okay.
we can go again.
So you're on 000, are you?
Yeah, I'm on 000 now. Well, I am now.
Okay.
I rewinded it. Yeah.
Well, that gives our audience a chance to put on a cup of tea, and now we can kick on with part 2 then. So Jerry, are you ready? 3, 2, 1, engage. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. If we were a professional channel, this is where I would have put an ad break in, but we don't have any sponsors, so it doesn't matter. Why would anyone want to sponsor our channel? I mean, I wouldn't say no to it.
I wouldn't say no.
No.
Pushing boys without time continuum.
Trying to erase us from history. That I would never break up this panel.
It goes to show you that once Chakotay left the ship, she just fell to pieces.
Yep.
You know, just can't live without him. Without that little cheeky smirk every now and then.
A lovely new goatee.
Yeah. Gone now. Gone well. I love that the gas masks are not quite skin tight. I know
Yeah.
they have they're doing the thing where they have like an outer and inner rim, but it just looks like they're barely clinging it onto the face. So it's not quite secure.
If we put that in there, it would have flooded another 2 decks. Come on, engines. Nothing.
I know it's supposed to be the bulkheads just kind of being eroded with the damage, but it looks like there's just black bin bags all over the walls. Like they're being like they're all smashed.
Probably
windows.
what it is, in fairness.
Yeah.
These types of episodes cost a hell of a lot of money, so they would have skimmed where they could, you know?
No, absolutely. And look, like things look different on camera as well, especially with certain lightings and perspectives. Like, why not?
Oh dear.
Only the chief medical officer. What do I know?
Now, if the chief command officer, you'd be in so much fucking trouble.
Mm-hmm. Like, fuck you, Janeway.
Yeah.
Digitin.
Well, I mean, on the offset, like they got their day 136, so that's a start, isn't it? Yeah. 60 days of, you know, huffing what seems to be dangerous pink gas. That's better than being killed, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
A slow death instead,
Exactly.
They get to get through the summer. They're in July now. It's a start, isn't it? I mean, if it was any consolation, the Kremlin are having a shitter time of it. So, seeing that they've basically bottled their own insurrection.
Yeah.
You can imagine that. Like, I would like. I know I do find the butterfly effects to be very amusing, but imagine having such a butterfly effect that you've basically ruined your entire human race. Like literally, like you went left instead of right, and there'd be 6 billion people dead. It's like, oh shit. I'd be probably raging too, to be honest.
Yeah. A little bit.
Yeah. But in fairness now, like he's got a better hand than Janeway now at this stage because he's got Chakotay, and he's got Tom Paris. I mean, Voyager should just pack it in now. I'm not sure how the ship is still running, to be honest.
Don't know how it hasn't blown up.
Yeah. Being held together by string. Like, we kept you here for 2 months.
Yep. Not even allowed to have a shave.
No.
How do you expect us to act?
Fuck you too. Fucking temporal Guantanamo Bay. Get the fuck. This one looks a bit like bread. I think that's ice cream. I don't fucking know.
I'd devour all of that. All of
Yeah.
it. Nah, bother.
After 2 months in captivity, I would too. Like, ha ha, ha ha, ha ha. You can control it, but you can't control it well, can you? Like, he's an interesting character because like he's saying all these things, but he's not proud of it. Like
No.
he's just kind of got a touch of the Oppenheimer. He's just kind of accepted that he's a monster, and
Yeah.
he's just said, "Well, fuck it." Oh yeah, it's actually me that's decided to be benevolent.
I think Captain Janeway has been eluding for months. Otherwise, you would have destroyed Voyager. I'm offering to go way ahead of us. Send us merrily on our way. Hold on. Oh, the destiny in the heart. If you made a precise enough calculation, could you restore Voyager without harming anyone? Possibly. But it's extremely difficult. That's why I need your cooperation. I'd rather spend a year in solitary confinement than listen to any of this. Tom, have a seat. Chakotay, we can't trust him. You're correct. Given the circumstances, there is no reason to trust me. But trust isn't necessary. We need each other. Obers, show our guests to his new floor.
It's just such a contrast compared to like the absolute like state of Voyager at the minute. Just like
Yeah.
look at this actual food, actual light,
It's luxury. It's luxury.
fresh air. Look at you, clean clothes. A holodeck, maybe. So did I. You certainly fucking don't. Here we are all now.
There's all the lads.
Yeah.
Not bad at all.
What is it exactly?
He's basically giving them an oxo cube.
I'm happy to report that I've repaired the optronic error in my program.
And the power grid.
We're operating at 32% efficiency. I think I can bring it up to 50, but I'll need people to
I can bring up to about 60 if I'm made lieutenant, Captain. No? Then you're only getting 50. Fuck off.
We've got to get back into open space. find allies, put together a fighting force to take on Anorex.
Captain, you are in error.
Oof.
Du-du-du.
Moment is Tesla's defenses. We should remain here until we are functioning at our peak efficiency.
I appreciate your opinion, but we leave tomorrow, 0800 hour.
That shot there of this demolished mess hall is quite good.
Yeah.
When have you brother enough to say that?
Then you should also know that my trust in Captain Janeway is absolute. The decision you or I might have made is irrelevant.
As a board, I've submitted to a single authority, collective. Over the past several months, I've been encouraged to think and act as an individual. It's difficult to know when to restrain myself.
Remember this guideline. The captain is always right.
No, the logic is flawed.
Perhaps.
Du-du-du-du.
Din, 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 din. Well, I'll probably get into it when we're talking about it. I would like to talk about the Kremlin time ship myself when we get to at the end of the episode, because I'm kind of seeing a very, maybe you're seeing the same thing as well, a very Mayan inspiration on the actual
Yeah.
design of the ship. It's very much like an old hourglass or a clock tower or something like that,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, it's time,
it.
and if you think of like what you said there, the Mayans, there was the calendar they made and
Yeah.
the different designs. I'm like, yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah. A lot has gone into that time ship, and I think we should talk about it, I think.
You actually eradicated all life. 50 light years would never have been. Congratulations. You almost wiped out 8,000 civilizations. I didn't consider the entire history of the comet. 4 billion years ago, fragments from that comet impacted the planet. Hydrocarbons of those fragments gave rise to several species of plant life, which in turn sustained more complex organisms. Ultimately, several spacefaring civilizations evolved and colonized the entire sector by erasing the comet that altered all evolution of the species. Past, present.
Time, our old enemy. I made it 5 times.
Body as well. Time to pull out a new thread. Another one seems to come out. Thousands of workers. 2 million of them. Long back. Once again. Like the loss. Destroyed. If they never existed.
Actually, you decided maybe you should just not do that.
What makes you think
Like, have you tried, and call me crazy here, getting over yourself? Yeah? You wouldn't have eradicated 5 species if you just got over yourself, Anorex, you know? Just throwing it out there.
Voyager didn't understand? Together, we'll restore the Kremlin and Voyager, and we'll undo. Time I show you the big heart.
Ooh. He's even a little prick up there. Ooh, hello. Uh-oh.
Captain, flicker down, the micrometeoroids are beginning to erode the hull. Captain, that entire section has been designated hazard level 4.
I know. Voyager. Bridge, there's a fire in the deflector control. Any luck with the engines? The workforce still offline.
Mhm.
A bobsleigh.
Yes, I'm gonna skeleton my way through the fire. Starfleet uniforms are flame retardant, right? Just asking for a friend.
Stabilizing the particle emitters. She's got it. Deflector's online. Activating deflector field. Bridge to Janeway. Captain, please respond.
Oh, she brown bread. She brown bread.
Ah, she's dead, Bill. She's dead. Dead, Jim. I'm going to start off my diagnosis by saying that was an incredibly stupid thing to do.
You're left with scars on your face and arms. Not so bad. You're spending the next few days here. Observation.
Is there something else wrong with me? What are you suggesting?
Traumatic stress syndrome. Symptoms. Irritability. Sexual false reckless behavior, all of which you demonstrated over the last few weeks.
That's me.
That's me now. Oh my god, am I stressed? Am I traumatized? Am I both?
And I'll shut down your program.
Ah, she's grand.
It'll be fine.
But I won't stay.
That's fine. Captain Catherine Janeway. Under Sergeant Medical Regulation 121, Section A, I, the Chief Medical Officer, do hereby relieve you of your active command. Effective immediately.
Internal force field offline.
I do love this interaction.
Hmm.
She doesn't give a fuck, but he's genuinely worried.
Yeah. Because it's the interesting thing about it where like the rest of them are like physically scarred, as in like Janeway clearly
Yeah.
of the face. Tuvok blinded. Whoever else has been damaged as well. But Doctor, you see, like he physically can't be like scared,
Yeah.
or anything like that. But as I said, like he is emotionally sensitive to everything else that's happening around him. So that's his kind of damage in a sense. So in a way, like he is the most centered of the lot because he physically can't degrade unless his whole emitter breaks down.
Mm.
You know. Hmm.
I have to say, I am very, very partial to a pocket watch,
Pocket watch
especially
is great.
especially a silver one.
More of a brassy silver pocket watch man myself now, but I see what you mean.
I have oh shit. Oh, whoops.
Ooh, careful.
I actually have my mother bought me one
Mm,
when she was getting married. So she got married when I was 18 to my stepdad. And
yeah.
she gave me it for the suit we were wearing. My stepdad has the same one. We borrowed
Mm,
the same pocket watch. And then my dad had collected this. It was these part magazines,
yeah.
and they were all pocket watches. And I've like
Wow.
20 of them in the attic.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember exactly what you're talking about.
Some of them are shite,
Yeah, but still.
and some of them are really good.
Mm.
Really, really good.
Meh.
Yeah.
He's dead, probably. Morbid, actually, isn't it? The more you think about it, because like they've been stuck on this ship for how many, like, as I think it was Chakotay mentioned, like 200 years.
200
Like,
years at this point, yeah.
yeah, like you're just stuck in a fucking rut. Like you're there, just like constantly fussying over equations.
Mm.
Keep gathering information, lie low, and understand simple calculations. With time and luck, I think we can get the Krenon back on their feet and Voyager back to the Alpha Quadrant. You're starting to sound like cataracts. Always one more calculation. This time it's going to be. You think trying to listen, you'd understand what Anorak is trying to do. What? Wipe out civilizations to help its own race? I understand, but it's more complicated than that. Anorax is an enlightened man. Misguided. But I think he understands as much as anyone.
200 years of this says fucking otherwise.
Yep. Fucking stupid Chakotay.
Mm.
I can get us out of this. We're not doing anything against animals. That's an order. What are you going to take away my holodeck privilege?
Mm-hmm.
I take our advanced structure.
And remember, I
He's
box.
only saying that because he was a boxer. The dick.
Yeah, exactly. Marcus of Queensbury rules. be fair, that chair is fabulous.
Yeah. Now the only thing I'm thinking is right. They did an incursion, and then Voyager shields were up,
Yeah,
so it fucked everything up. Surely this would be the same thing, no?
I would presume so. Depends on what like their how far away Voyager is and like what kind of incursion it like what's the actual consequences of it, you know?
Counter. None so far. Scan the continuum. Bring me the results. Yes, sir. I'll be in my chamber.
That's no genocide. Lovely, lovely. Right. Real fucking Winston Churchill, this guy is, isn't it? It's like, how about we get rid of those fellows over there? Those ones there with the T. Yeah, get rid of them. And those fellows there, the ones who can run. Get rid of them too. Excellent. Two places for the British to go. My work here is done.
Oh, stars are in my by genocide. One species is significant. A single life is significant. Output of the one from the
You could have remarried. Like
But I got a
literally,
hooker.
you could have donated sperm. You know, you could have. There could have been so many other solutions to just okay, fine, I'll destroy time. Like it's no disrespect to the actor itself, but I find the character of Anorax to be just completely ludicrous because in one point he's like fully rationalize what he's doing and he's excited, he's buzzing, and everything's gonna be fine. And then suddenly he's talking to Chakotay with like one counterpoint. He just goes, "You're right, I've been terrible. It just seems so easy. I just can't help myself." It's like pick a side. You're either megalomaniac or you're not. Pick one.
quite what is not. That's not the reason.
If you give it a fucking chance. Just from the way they shot started, I thought he was in the brig,
Yeah, it definitely looked like it.
didn't it?
Paranoia, okay, but the hint of megalomania. You don't know what's been. And frankly, so me. Stop setting off every alarm on the ship. Precise time. Looking for Captain Janeway attacked from Voyager.
You're expecting Janeway at her most stubborn. She will live.
Give Catherine my best.
Because with all this, we got on a first name basis, if you know what I mean.
He certainly is one of the least likable characters in Star Trek.
Yeah. I like he wasn't he didn't really help with the character was a bit of a flat to begin with,
Yeah.
you know. And not like with a lot of actors as well, they impose a lot of themselves onto the character. He never really did. I don't think he ever really felt a connection with Chakotay, which is fair enough. Some people don't. But it is what it is.
That you'll try to take the weapon ship temple offline. You'll be home eventually. I will then transmit the exact location of the core. Our job will be to take the ship and get out people out. Alana, Aaron, I want you to move over to the hydrogen vessel. Work with their engineers. The entire fleet needs to be equipped with temporal shielding. I can't. Tuvok, Phoenix, 7. You'll be working on the Mawasi ship. Doctor, once the attack begins, your skills will no doubt be required to meet the best. Yourself. Tell me about it in Voyager coordinating the attack. Captain, there's barely enough of this ship left to get there, much less wage of war. There's like sometimes Rosita, never know the dead. You have your own. Dismissed.
Like everyone's like, I don't like this. This is not going to work.
About that, you hear your objections already. I am not leaving.
Even Voyager's damaged state. Probability of your surviving the armed conflict is much.
But I have to say,
You are starting to crack.
you're part of our family. That's logical. Voyager is either that or the member of my group. Carry that. The right time.
Oh. I think it's very hard, like especially with the episode, like having to like do all the or basically this whole year having to play it in one episode. Like the actual emotional kind of payoff for some of these like goodbye scenes has to land, and it's hard to really get that point across, you know, because like I said, we haven't experienced the full season of this as was the original intention, which would have been fascinating. But we kind of got that with Enterprise.
Imagine getting a full season of this.
Yeah, but that was the plan. The plan was that they were going to get ravaged throughout the entire thing, and then the season finale is where they completely unfucked the timeline. But But like I said, they kind of were able to do those similar story beats in Enterprise with the Xindi War. So
Yeah.
not too bad.
That kind of would have been like Dallas when it was all just a dream.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it would have been a bit of a cop there, but then it's also like, hey, we're back to normal for next season. You know.
Captain Janeway to the fleet. Plot an intercept course to the weapon ship.
Shin. Beep beep beep.
They'll be able to protect the planets against your weapon. Bring the weapon to full power. Stand by for multiple incursions. Disable their temporal shields first.
After I'm done, there won't be a timeline to fix. I'm just imagining as well, like these incursions are going to spread throughout like the entire galaxy. So, like, while this year of hell is happening, what the fuck is going on in Starfleet?
Yeah.
They were going like, wait, what do you mean the Klingons are gone? They weren't just fucking gone.
Or they're nice.
Yeah. What do you mean Andorrans are red now? This makes no fucking sense. Swivel.
They should target the vessel.
Du-du-du.
Blue screen.
It's the red ring of death.
Yeah.
Take your conventional weapons.
Tom sent me the coordinates of their temporal core before he left. I'm transmitting them to you now.
Conventional weapons are online and fully charged, sir. Fire and will.
Oof. Explosions.
Oh, that's rough.
Boy, it's a good thing no one was on board that ship, but that would have been terrible. What a shot this is.
Yeah.
If that ship is destroyed, all of history might be restored. This is one year I'd like to forget.
What a line.
Mm.
Fabulous. No. And it's gone. That is a
Yeah.
beautiful transition. The most underrated part about that whole thing, it just goes day one.
Yeah.
Captain Janeway, Dr. Boy, Captain Boy,
I suggest you report down telescope.
See, that's all it needed to be.
Yeah.
No temporal incursions, no fucking around with time, just a polite fuck off. That's all we needed. Was that so fucking hard, Cremens? Fuck off, Janeway. Knock, knock, knock. Ugh. Will it happen again? No, it won't. Oh man. But yeah, there we have it. We actually got through it. We survived the terrible time thing.
Survived the year of hell.
We have survived the year of hell, and every day within it. What was your favorite day of the year of hell? I thought day 7 was quite good.
I thought 39 was good.
You see, you like the number 39. You see, I think that's what has you distracted. Like
Because I want to stay 39 forever. I don't want to become.
oh, will you stop being so dramatic? God, Jesus, like a child.
I wish I was a child again.
I was a real boy. Oh dear. But so yeah, that's the year of hell. It's quite a slog to get to a double header there, but it's one of those interesting kind of things where like if it doesn't feel like a double header, then I think it's done its job. Because I think I said the same thing when we watched the Emissary. It's not quite the slog that it comes across as, because it's a very busy hour and a half and it doesn't feel like it. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
this one is like, this one is very much written as a two-parter, or rather, it's written to be an hour and a half long, and the story beats are good enough. Takes a breather from the shenanigans of Voyager, all that sort of stuff. So it's good. We'll get into that though in the review. Because in the meantime, we have a little bit of trivia to talk about. So let's start off first of all, because we do have our shipyard section, which we review all the fancy ships that we see across the show, and this is going to be no different. We already done Voyager, of course, because this is not our first Voyager episode, and we don't see really anything of consequence. Should we say like the Mawazi and the other ships there? We don't really going to talk about them today, but we will talk about the Kremen time ship itself. As I mentioned, I think the design wise, I think is very, very intricate. Because as I was kind of alluding to there, I know it goes through kind of a few different, or Kremen like ships generally kind of take a few shapes and sizes over the episode, but the time ship tends to kind of keep to the same pattern. And it's very obvious where they got the design inspiration from. At least I kind of felt so anyway. Like very hourglass shaped. There's a lot of Mayan inspiration there, as we kind of mentioned. The kind of Mayan clock is very much a kind of inspiration to it. It does feel like it also has a kind of a clock face kind of aesthetic to it as well. You can kind of see where it got its kind of inspiration from. And yeah, I think and again, you can almost kind of see there's a bit of a kind of clockwork aspect to it as well, from its the patterns and so forth on the whole. I think it's a great design for a one-off ship like this, especially considering like I'm sure I might be wrong with this, but I don't think we see any more of the Kremen beyond this episode.
No,
So
we got one double header with the Kremen, and that was it.
yeah.
I think it's a thing you'd have liked to see more of them, but it would have taken away from this episode had you seen more of them.
I think that's fair.
The one and done made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't think they were ever even mentioned again, apart from possibly Warship Voyager. I think they or somebody, maybe not them, or maybe it was Reg Barkley, says Krenem torpedoes or something like that.
Yeah.
Someone mentions the torpedoes, and like they shouldn't know that because they never got fired upon by the Krenem, so how would they know that? So it's one of those inconsistencies.
Get mentioned in that episode where Kess jumps into the year of hell for a day, because they do kind of lead into the fact that the Krenem are coming type of deal.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like a very, very mild version of how they preempted the Borg in the Next Generation, which is grand. They don't have to do that for every alien race they get, but they've done it well with some of the Delta Quadrant races they needed to build up as big villains. They did well. They did it well with the Hirogen and the race that had the Genophage. I can't remember their name off the top of my head, but they prefaced them very well. Kazons not so much. The Kazons were just discount Klingons. Let's be delicate about this.
Bargain basement Klingons is what I would categorize them as. You've got you were talking about the Vidians.
Vidians, thank you. I couldn't remember the name of their off the top of my head. But yeah, so they preempt the races that they want to be actual threats. They do very well with, and the Kremen was one of them. Fun fact, actually, the actual ship itself, according to some other Star Trek works, is actually called the Kiana Prime.
It's called the Kiana Prime, okay.
Yeah, it's called the Kiana Prime. Star Trek Online, which I know you're familiar with, has some missions based around the Krenem as well. I think the mission's called Time in a Bottle, and it kind of brings you through some of the other stuff that these guys do. And I think there's a Temporal Cold War storyline in the game. And they're kind of feuding with the Sphere Builders and the Nakul and stuff like that. So, it's all part of that. I think the online is called, or on Star Trek Online is called the Anorax Dreadnought, isn't it, or something along those lines?
That's the class. It's the class of ship. It's not necessarily called that. It's the class of ship. It's like the Enterprise D was a Galaxy class. So basically, this is the Anorax Temporal Warship or Temporal Dreadnought or something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's named after him. The make is named after him.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair enough then. But yeah, like we don't normally do hero ships all the time, but we don't normally do villain ships. For at least one and done. Like normally the ships that we do are kind of like ones you see all the time on the show anyway, because it was nice to kind of have I suppose something a bit different on it. So in terms of ranking it though, where would we put the Krenem time ship if we wanted to?
I'd give it a captain, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's good enough. It is one of those. It's a very, very unique design. It's fucking huge. It's absolutely dwarfs Voyager. It's absolutely huge. I'd give it captain. Yeah.
Okay, because I was kind of flittering between commander and captain myself, because I was thinking as well. I always think, especially for like these kind of high profile big episodes, that I say, like, if this was the pitch for a Star Trek movie, the glam up that you would see from, like, say, start to finish, again, like I kind of use the same kind of premise for like yesterday's Enterprise in the last episode. If you had the extra budget, if you had the extra legs, where could you go with this? And I can only imagine this having the same grandiose kind of like feel to the the ship that's used in Insurrection that has it's kind of like the Bajoran, the solar ship, you know. It's
Yeah.
kind of big grandiose thing, and it's not overdone like the scimitar, you know. You can imagine when you see it, you can see some of the clockwork, the mechanisms. They'll make the inspiration very, very obvious. I didn't like, because they're saying if it wasn't just on a simple episode of Voyager, but they had to simplify things for their own sanity more than anything else. You could see the intricacy coming out there. So yeah, I think I'm happy with to put it into captain category. So it's in good company, to say the least. In case you're wondering who else is in captain tier, Voyager sits in the captain tier along with the NX-01, the Excelsior, the USS Titan, the Miranda, the Nebula, and the Galor class ships are all in that tier. So it certainly is not out of place compared to the rest of the ships there. So there you have it. Now then, so that's our only ship to talk about in that terms, but we do have a lot of guest stars to get through. So without further ado, I shall kick us off. We have a few one and dones, which we'll get to, but a few surprising multiple Star Trek offenders, which we'll get to shortly. So we'll start off then with the last person we see in this episode is Lisa Sims, who plays Anorax's wife. We see right at the end of the episode. So she is a one and done in Star Trek, as you may guess. But fun fact, actually, she technically is two if you count her for a voice actor. In the video game Star Trek Away team, she voices the character Tandorla, which I believe is possibly a Vulcan. I'm not too sure. But she voices Tandorla in that game. So she's technically been in twice, if you want to count that.
Okay.
In terms of other work, she's still alive. She's age 60 at time of recording. She has been in a few other shows such as Third Rock from the Sun, Providence, and what she might be known of more, I'd say, would be the show Phil of the Future, which was on the Disney Channel for a couple of years, and she was also with Dr. Sedgwick in the soap Days of Our Lives. So that's probably where you'd know her from.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah.
Obviously, I know you're a big fan of American soaps, Jerry, so she obviously jumped out off the page for you. You know, you're obviously buzzing for that. But yeah, that's basically it. And fun fact, actually, the costume that she was wearing was already worn on the show. Suzanne Diol was wore it in the episode Life Science, which was, I think, a Voyager episode, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was in season 2. So it's the same costume basically, and the whole thing was auctioned off as part of the It's a Wrap sale. So that's a fun fact for you. Just goes to show you, they really do reuse everything on Star Trek when they need to.
They try.
They do. They try. They do indeed. Now, next up then on our trip then is a few of the, as it were, prominent crew members of Voyager. We're starting off with Ensign Lang, who has appeared in a couple of episodes of Voyager. She's played by Deborah Levin, or Levin if you prefer. So Ensign Lang, just again, you're kind of one of the standard crew then on the crew people on Voyager. So she's been in 3 episodes of Voyager altogether. Year of Hell was the last one. Blood Fever and Displaced with the other 2, so we can only assume she died. And obviously brought back to life with the Kremen ship going boom. If you are looking for Deborah Levin in some other roles, you'll probably know her from perhaps the movie Time Stalkers, Home Improvement. You'll probably know her from as a few guest roles. Boston Common, you might see her in as well, and a couple of other kind of like guest roles on the likes of Will and Grace, Four Kings as well, and I think I said Home Improvement already. Oh, Valerie as well. She was in. So yeah, she was. You might know her more so as Dana from Will and Grace was perhaps the biggest, and the more common role in that. So yeah, that's basically it for that one. So another one and done. So this one's an interesting one. I'm not going to quiz you on because it's a bit of a trick question, but I'll explain this next one. So this next person is called Sue Henley. She is the character Ensign Henley, I believe, in this episode. Or Ensign Brooks, sorry, apologies. So she's Ensign Brooks in this. But fun fact, actually, Sue Henley is Kate Mulgrew's stand-in on Voyager.
Oh,
Yeah. So she's a stand-in and photo double for Kate Mulgrew. So she, whenever you see like, you know, distance shots or, you know, like back shots or whatever else is, it's usually Sue Henley doing them as opposed to Kate Mulgrew. And she's also her hand doubled as well. So again, similar shots where they don't need to get Kate in, Sue's on hand and do it that way. So and she was also there when Genevieve Bujold was in as Janeway instead.
Janeway,
so
yeah.
she's always been in the stand-in for Janeway, essentially. And she's basically kind of like popped in as kind of different characters almost when it suits. So she's always kind of been in the realm, let's say. So yeah, in this episode she's credited as Ensign Brooks, so she'll see her in a couple of shots in this episode and in other different episodes as well. In terms of that though, she's also got a lot of uncredited roles in the episode as well. So she has been a Borg drone, she's been in a couple of like kind of background shots. She was a woman who like threw a soap bubble at the crew in Future's End. She was in the bar drinking under makeup and all that sort of stuff, all uncredited roles, you know. But typically speaking, her, I suppose if you like the bread and butter, is being a double for Kate Mulgrew. So there you go. The more you know. So next up then is another one and done, and he's actually the only guest star of this episode, if you will. That's John Loprieno, who played Obrist in this episode. So John Loprieno, he will be known mostly as Dan Walton from the soap Search for Tomorrow. He's still alive, incidentally. He's age 63 at the moment. He's also been known as Cord Roberts from One Life to Live. So again, that's a very regular show. I think he was on that show for nearly 9 years, I think, or on and off. And he got a few nominations for soap operas and soap opera awards and stuff like that. So he has been around, to say the least. In terms of other shows he's been in, he has been in episodes of Roseanne, ER, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, and at the moment he is an acting coach and instructor at a college in California. So that's what he does now for a living. But yeah, in this one he is just Obrist of the Kremen Imperium, as it were. So we're now down to our top three, as it were, and two of these are repeat appearances. So this first one is Rick Fitz, who in this episode played Zal, who was the what's the name of the race again? I can't remember off the top of my head. He was the Zal. He was the Zal ambassador. I thought his character's name was Zal, but it's not. So he played the Zal in this episode, but he has appeared in Star Trek before. How many times has he appeared in Star Trek before, Jerry Soule?
I'm going to say two more, so three in total.
Just the two, I'm afraid to say.
Okay.
So he has actually been. So obviously you won't recognize the faces just because it's under prosthetics, but he was out of prosthetics for his role in The Next Generation. It was only one and done. He was in the episode Violations. He played Dr. Martin, who was one of the physicians on hand for. So he was kind of on hand for as part of Dr. Crusher's crew in sick bay. So he played Dr. Martin in that. So yeah, that's what he would he's known as in terms of Star Trek. Elsewhere in his works, you'll probably know him from he's appeared in the likes of Modern Family. He's done a lot of one episode shots, basically. He's doing a lot of guest roles, kind of background stars. He's been a judge, desk sergeant, that sort of stuff, really. The only one I can see that he's actually been as a regular is Dr. Craig in The Bold and the Beautiful, which I think is a soap opera again. And he's a booking officer in High Incident, which is it's a cop show, I think. But that's basically it. Like a lot of here we go. There we have it now. He was Martin Jackson in the TV series Generations. He was on that for quite a long time, actually. So again, that's another soap opera where you'll know him from. But yeah, that's basically it from that one. So and that's it from Rick Fitz on Star Trek terms. Now, this next one's an interesting one. This one caught me by surprise as well. So, the Kremen Commandant, the guy who has 3 personalities throughout the run, where he's coward this time, smug prick the next, then a mixture of the two at the end. And he is played by Peter Slutsker. And I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right, otherwise it's just called Slutsker. So he has appeared on Star Trek before. So I'll ask you, Jerry, how many times has he been on Star Trek?
I'm going to say 4.
You're right. Can you tell me any of his roles?
Nope.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Technically, the Kremen Commandant is the only one where he's not in prosthetics.
Okay.
The other 3 times, he has been a Ferengi. And what's exciting, he has played 3 different Ferengis.
Right, who?
Okay, so the first one, he was Nibor in the Next Generation episode Menage a Troy.
Right, okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he's not Damon Tugg, let's just be clear. He's not the one that is on, he's got the hots for Lwaxana Troy.
Yeah.
Nibor is the guard for Troy and Riker. So he's Nibor in that. The next one then, he is in the episode Suspicions as Rhaegar. He's the Ferengi scientist that gets killed.
What?
Yeah, that's him.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's the one that's like, he's got the metaphasic shield, and Crusher thinks it's all a setup, and turns out she was right. So yeah, he's Rhaegar.
I'd never guessed that. I'd never guessed that.
I think once you see the face, like out of all the roles he's had, with whatever way they've done the prosthetics and stuff, that's the most obvious. You can see his face compared to what he is outside of makeup. And then the last one is in the Next Generation episode Bloodlines. He is the Ferengi Berta, who was a government official. It's Birthright is the one where it's the follow up to Damon Bach, that episode, the conspiracy episode where he breaks out of prison and he tries to kill Picard's son. So son. So basically he's obviously not Damon Bach, but he is the government official that comes up on screen and says, Bach has escaped, blah, so that's his role there. So I suppose out of the 4, Rhaegar is probably his most prominent one, if that's fair to say. So in any case, in terms of Slutsker himself, he is no longer acting. He retired in 2004. He was married to Barbara Hoon, who's a fellow actor. But in terms of his other work, he's also kind of credited as Peter Marks as well in some work. So he's either Slutsky, I think it's to do with his birth name and so forth. But a lot of guest roles as well. So he's been in the likes of he's actually been in Law and Order 3 times in 3 different Law and Order shows as 3 different characters. I'm sensing a pattern here. In terms of his other work, he's just been in a lot of guest roles, a lot of cop dramas, legal dramas, that sort of stuff. So you probably wouldn't know him as anything else really, bar his spots in Star Trek, unfortunately. Because the other one that probably would have seen him as is probably Law and Order. So that's about it. So yeah, there you go. And then we come to the big one. We come to Anorax, and we're talking about Kurtwood Smith.
Red Foreman. Woo!
Red Foreman. But Jerry Soule, we're not finished yet.
Mm-mm.
He has been in Star Trek multiple times.
Yes.
How many times has he been in Star Trek?
I know of 3.
Okay.
So he was Anorax.
Yes.
He played an alien in Lower Decks.
Yes.
That captured the crew, but they weren't really captured. They were celebrating them, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And then he played a Cardassian in Deep Space Nine. Cardassian Deep Space Nine. That he played a Cardassian that Odo took over from when he came to the station. Now, I'm going to suspect there is at least one more, but I'm just going to have to say 3 in total because that's the only ones I know of. So I'll say 3, but I'm kind of expecting more.
And you're right to expect one more. You were right to expect one more. He has been in Star Trek 4 times, and you got 3 out of 4 right. Yeah, Anorax, obviously. He was Clar, the alien you were talking about in Lower Decks in the episode Veritas, and he was Odo's predecessor in the episode Things Past. He was Thrax, the Cardassian. But, and this is going to shock you, Jerry, he has been in a Star Trek movie. More specifically, he's been in Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country.
Was he a Klingon?
He was the Federation president that was going to be assassinated.
Oh, he was. Yeah, he was. Oh, I knew that. Fuck.
Yeah, that is Kurtwood Smith.
I knew that
in Star Trek 4
How
times.
did I forget that one?
Yeah, there you go. Huh? There you go. So Kurtwood Smith. So again, he is known. Obviously, it goes without saying he's known as Red Foreman from the '70s show. Iconic character, very funny character.
He was a bad guy in RoboCop.
He was Clarence from RoboCop. Yep, dead on. He's been in so many shows. It's actually surreal. Still alive. He's 80 years old at the time of recording. He's been in so many things. Again, like if it's not like normal acting, he's doing voice acting as well. So he's kept busy. But I'll roll through a couple of things he's been in. He's in the movie Roadie. That was one of his earlier shows. Funny enough, he was also in the musical Zoot Suit, co-starring with Robert Beltran. Fun fact. So there you go, Small World Syndrome. You mentioned he played Clarence Boddicker in RoboCop. So he actually does kill the titular character before he gets revived, as it were. So yeah, that kind of got him into other roles then. So you have then he was in Woody Allen's Shadow and Fog, which again has a lot of other Star Trek alumni in it. Then you got the movie The Crush. You've got Deep Impact, Girl Interrupted, A Time to Kill, Broken Arrow. A lot of movies in that sense. But as you said, like he's known for some of his TV work as well. So he was also in 24 and the 7th season, to be precise. He was also in the movie or the show Psych as well. And again, we'll know him for his time as in that 70s show. But again, he's done a lot of other work since then. It goes without saying. So it's a hell of a career he has. Like he's been in tons of little dramas here and there, movies. Keeps himself busy. It's fair to say. So he would have been. Where else have we just seen? He was Beware the Batman. The TV series back in like about 10 years ago, he was James Gordon, the voice of James Gordon in that episode, or in that show. He also played Henry Langston in the show Resurrection, which was ran for a couple of years as well. He's just been in a couple of other shows back and forth since then. But again, as I said, Red Foreman is perhaps what he's most known as I'd say. There you go. It's always nice to see someone like in kind of Star Trek kind of environment completely out of place. Especially if you have like a sitcom character playing serious on a Star Trek episode, I think it's hilarious. You know, like Kelsey Grammer is the one that always gets me because that's way before Kelsey Grammer really gets big. You know, like he was doing a guest spot there in Cheers. So like the fact that like you see him kind of before it all kind of like really kicks off for him, I think is always quite amusing to me, like in hindsight. But there you go. So yeah, those are a lot of guest stars in this one, Jerry. But obviously a nice mix of repeat offenders and one and done. So we've done everyone justice there in that sense. But it's now time for the main event. It's time to talk about the episode. So let's start off as we always do with the plot. Jerry Soule. The Starship Voyager gets stuck in a self-inflicted temporal war with the Krenim. They are torn limb from limb, hole to hole, nacelle to nacelle, until they eventually fix everything by crashing the ship into said ship. Which is, if anything, why didn't you just do that on day 5 and just stop this whole thing from happening? But again, that's time. It's all power of hindsight. Hilarious.
It's all relative.
All relative. Oh, very good. Well, that's very, very clever now, isn't it? Took you a couple of seconds to think of that.
It did.
Yeah, there you go. But what as a plot, as a two-parter, does it do the job for you?
I give it a 10. And I'll tell you why. I tell you why I give it a 10. I'm not straight in there, okay? When it comes to Voyager, and Voyager was Discovery is certainly taking up the mantle of my least favorite Star Trek, and I still watch Discovery. Don't get me wrong. I would watch all of Star Trek. If you're a Star Trek fan, you watch it all. You don't just watch some, you watch it all. But my least favorite would be Discovery, but it would have been Voyager before that, because I just feel the likes of Deep Space Nine and Next Generation and Enterprise were just top tier. They really were. But in the grand scheme of things with regards to Voyager, this is certainly one of their better arcs. The fact that it was only 2 episodes is kind of blasphemy, because, as you said, it was planned to be an entire season. I'm like, can you imagine an entire season of that? It would have been absolutely epic. It would have been brilliant. But the writing of this, the plot of this is just, it couldn't have been done in a single episode. It would have been ruined if they had tried. It had to be a 2-parter, had to be a doubleheader. And it just flowed. Everything worked. Everything worked in this episode from day 1 all the way up to, and I love the way it's called the Year of Hell. It was 207 days. It wasn't even a fucking year. 207 days.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Jesus, it was great. It was. It is one of those. When I go back, if I'm kind of have some time to myself for, let's say I'm doing something. What I'm currently doing right now is painting models. So while I'm painting, I will watch something. So I'll go to Netflix, and if I don't see anything new or anything different, I'll always go back to Star Trek. And this would have been one of those double headers that are like, right, I'll stick it on.
Yeah,
I'll stick it on. A lot of Voyager, I'm like, skip. This is certainly not one of those. This is a fantastic episode. From start to finish, it does grip you in. And it grips you in for other reasons that we will be scoring in other categories. But certainly the plot, absolutely, you can't give it any less than a 10, because it's fantastic. It is one of the superior Voyager arcs. It's one of the superior Voyager episodes, and it deserves no less than 10. Simple as that.
Yeah. Like I'll agree with you on 10 on that one. I think you argue very well about it. I think we said at the top of the episode, I think what Voyager, out of all of, if you wanted to do like a proper kind of like post-mortem on Voyager as a series, what it falls back on, I say, like some of his bottle shows are complete throwaway episodes. They're pointless. You didn't need to run them at all. I think Voyager is in a weird way, Voyager is kind of like what Discovery needs to be now, if this makes sense. Where or rather, I'll clarify what Star Trek is now with a shorter run of episodes. Like Voyager can condense a lot of his stories into 10 really strong episodes for me. Kind of how, like, in a weird way, Strange New Worlds is kind of one that kind of needs more breathing space and more episodes to just flesh out stories and characters and so forth.
It's fantastic.
It's so good. But that's the thing. But what you want from that kind of season, you want more. You want to end the season like Strange New Worlds wanting more. Like, you're almost raging that it's only 10 episodes. Like, what you wouldn't give, you give your fucking left arm and right leg for 20 episodes of Strange New Worlds in a season like it used to be. But the TV landscape has changed, streaming landscape has changed. It's all totally different. It needs to be this kind of short form now, just to keep people's attention and budgets and all this sort of stuff, because they're all spiraling out of control. With Voyager, I think, like, at least, especially towards the end of the run, I think by season 6, you can adequately say half of the season didn't really need to kick on. You know what I mean? Like, there's some of them were fun episodes, don't get me wrong, because you've done some season 6 Voyager. I'm not picking on that in particular, but my point is that some episodes are just an episode for the sake of an episode.
They were so very much throwaway. Like I would have been at that point where you said, "Can we? You know, we've done 7 seasons of Next Gen, 7 seasons of Deep Space Nine, and we've done 6 seasons of Voyager. Could we potentially condense this down to maybe a 15-episode season rather than the 24 episodes or the 26 episodes in some seasons? Could we condense it down?" But they were like, "Nah, fuck it, let's just keep going."
That's a side effect of having to like basically set your stall out and say, well, Voyager are working their way through the Delta Quadrant. There's only so many aliens of the week that you can do on the show, and you have a very limited number of characters to play with unless you start bringing in new crewmen and people dying and so forth. Which I think, like, again, nowadays you could get away with like, oh, this character's dead, let's bring this new person in and then flesh up this character. Like, you will have a natural rotation in it, you know.
Yeah, well, they
like,
kind of they did that in Strange New Worlds. The Hemir, they killed him.
Hemir, yeah, and then Hemir
they brought
replaced
it
with
with an absolute crazy bitch.
yeah, just Carol Kane. This has been brought
Yeah,
in.
she's
That's all
just
it is.
fucking. She's mental. Like the
Yeah.
fact, like I think I'm right by saying that she played the nanny from Adam's Family.
Yeah, that's her. Yeah,
So yeah, she's batshit crazy.
it's
And,
totally
and
cracked.
the fact that her character is fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like, she's insane.
Mm.
And I'm like, that's what makes it so good.
Yeah,
Because it's not
again,
just the
it's a totally
same
different
bland
character.
type of characters. It's fucking nut job. I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
yeah, absolutely. Lean into it. Why not? But that's what I mean. Like, it would have been like they did like have like supporting characters and fringe characters, and then they're very smart at the end of the Voyager run to bring in Barclay and Troy and stuff that's happening on Earth. Very smart, because it's a good excuse to again bring in a bit of crossover, but also to kind of like, again, much like I said, like sometimes you get sick of just being in the same kind of space and same ship and same. There's only so many holodeck episodes you can do. There's only so much fucking Captain Proton shit you can do until it gets boring. So why not go back and see what's happening on the other side of the quadrant? Because again, it like you need to kind of remember, like Star Trek is a huge universe. Like, there's consequences to Voyager being out in the Delta Quadrant. What are they? What's happening to the Dominion War in this time? All this sort of stuff. You know, there's so many things they could do. And they kind of played with that towards the end of the run because they were literally running out of ideas, which I don't blame them with. But certainly, what I would say is, though, that's one of the major cons. The major pro, as I said at the top of the episode, are the two-parters. They absolutely fucking nailed these two-part episodes throughout the entire run. There is probably one downside, and that's probably workforce. It's a bit of a throwaway episode.
Literally the only one.
Yeah,
you know, if you were to pick another one, it would have been the Herosian episode with the holograms, where the holograms rebelled, and that was okay. It wasn't great, but it was certainly better than Workforce. Workforce looked bollocks.
Yeah, exactly. And
again, apart from Emergency Command hologram.
Again, that's the shining light of the episode. But much to that point, like I think every like run kind of has a two-part as a bit. Because something has to be the shitter, the shit two-part episode, or else like you don't have any comparison. Like, what's the one in Next Generation? Probably Gambit, and that's the last one we do it.
Get fucked.
Well,
Gambit's go. Gambit. Captain Picard gets to play a bad guy. No,
yeah,
it would for me. It would Times Arrow.
Oh, actually, Times Arrow, yes.
It's not great.
Actually, yeah, Times Arrow was that. Yeah,
it's not great. Like, it's okay. It's one of the. It's not the first time, but it's one of the first times you see Mark Alamo, who plays Gul Dukat. He's in that episode very, very briefly, very, very briefly. So I'm assuming he would have been kind of around, because it was at that time that Deep Space Nine had started, so he would have been around. But yeah, so Times Arrow for me would be the two-parter in Next Gen that wasn't very good.
Deep Space wasn't that great actually either, was it?
It was all right. That was okay. You see, the thing is, you had, it wasn't just about Worf and his father. You've got Data and his father.
True.
As well, so you got that. You got that as well, and it was interesting to see how different Klingons and Romulans actually working together and living side by side. That was quite cool.
Yeah.
Let's see, like two-parter in Deep Space Nine that was bad.
You see, this one
on the top of my head, I can't think of one.
See, they play with the format a little bit with the Dominion War, where a lot of it is like the actual end of the season of the last season of Deep Space Nine is basically a 12-parter, and some of those episodes are a little bit like, okay, we've seen this a bit before now, come on. But they're trying to stretch it out to its natural conclusion. I'd have to get a refresher for some of the two-parters in Deep Space Nine.
The only thing I can think of that could potentially be, and it's not that it's bad, it's just it's not as good as the others, is where Cisco, Dax, and Bashir go back in time to the Bell riots.
I do like Past Tense, though. I think that's a cracking episode.
But yeah, no, I'm not saying it's a bad episode, but I think it would be the lesser of the twin episodes or the double headers in Deep Space Nine. Because what I liked the Bajoran one. I think it was from season 1 or end of season 1.
Yeah.
Where you have basically, I can't remember. I can never remember his bloody name. But the guy who played Skeletor in he's a big actor. What's his fucking name? He played Skeletor in Masters of the Universe. He played Nixon in a film as well.
Franklin Gallett.
That's the one. He plays Bajoran leader.
Yes.
And he's working with Kai Wynn to overthrow basically the provisional government. And you have this war hero that comes in that everyone loves him. He's like, I just want a quiet life, and eventually he's like, I get to die for my people. That was a good one. I like that episode. I like that double header because Frank Langella's fucking it. Because I love Frank Langella. Like he's somebody who's very selective with his work. That like he was questioned. He wasn't questioned about Star Trek, but because that was a role. But he was questioned like, why did you do? So you're so selective. When you go for these big movies and these big roles, why did you go for Skeletor? And he's like, why not? And so one time he was like, one time in my life I get to have a bit of fun. Yeah, one role I get to have a bit of fun with, and it was so fucking epic that you're like, why don't you do that all the time with like sci-fi and shit? Because imagine him in Star Wars, imagine him in more in Star Trek. Oh my god, he'd have been fucking amazing. Absolutely amazing. But no, we only got on to one time. So we went on a side quest there for a minute.
Well, we were talking about the start of the episodes. I think it makes sense. I think I just had to look there now. Like, there's not many. The reason why I couldn't think of any Deep Space Nine ones because there was only technically 5 of them. So if you are saying that like the past tense is the worst of the 5, that's not a bad thing to be saying because all 5 of them are quite good. Because one of them is the Maquis, one's about the Jem'Hadar, the other one is
Way the Warrior.
The Way the Warrior, exactly, and then the season opener, and then you have the Changeling in Starfleet, the Changeling Invasion. Essentially, was I know they're 2 separate episodes, but it's a 2-parter. Let's be fair.
It's a 2-part. You've also got the 2-parter during the Dominion War arc. It's the 2-parter where they go to retake Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, so that's another one. So like, because again, they play around with like the episode titles and stuff like this. So yeah, so like there's certainly ones that are they're kind of like mechanically 2-parters, let's say. But going by our kind of the way we've been doing them on the show here, like there's only like traditional ones, let's say there are 2. Year of Hell,
Redemption, Birthright, that type of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And there's no point in saying about the original series because there's only one, which is the Menagerie, which was quite good. But yeah, so there you go. Moving on then to setting, and I'm gonna make this very, very simple and say 10 on this one because I think it is literally about the destruction and the decomposition of Voyager. It's as simple as that. It's one of those things where like it sounds easy. It's easy to make it look bad. But it's hard to make it look good. Because it is all these very small things like what you're doing with the wire shot, the lighting, how the characters look, how they've changed. And I was going to talk about this more so in the writing category, but the continuity alone must have wrecked their fucking heads because you have to set basically the show, the episode is done in kind of checkpoints basically, and especially from when the first wipe happens and the timeline changes the ship is already in disrepair. It's already shit. And that's obviously not a good start to your year, as it were. That was like looking at day 4. But much to that point, like it has to constantly look this way, and everything must be in tatters. But it must be sensible enough that like you can see the deterioration of the ship enough that by the end of the year, as it were, all of it just looks just as bad as itself. So therefore, the characters start like degrading in some way, or getting scars and this and stuff like this. Like bear in mind,
even just dirt, like the dirt, how dirty they were because they couldn't clean themselves.
Exactly,
it's fantastic.
Like these are all things that like you can miss if you don't have good continuity. And the one thing I say about Star Trek overall is that it tries, especially for a show that's very transient with like directors and writers and so forth, it tries very hard to do continuity well. It will in of itself.
Yeah, their continuity is actually quite good when you compare them to other shows and other movies and things like that.
Yeah,
continuity is very good. I myself know how difficult continuity is, having worked on one single short as the continuity guy, and it's a bastard of a thing to have to get right.
It is.
It's so difficult. It's probably one of the more difficult things with regards to kind of set design and things like that, is that you have to take everything into account. It's not just that cup was there or that candle was there or that piece of paper was there. It's everything. It's the how the actors looked. Like the one like really, really bad like faux pas of continuity that I will always remember is Elijah Wood in the Return to King, that his scar went from here to here to here to here. Now, the reason that it changed the sides of the face, I understand why it went from here to here, but the reason it actually changed sides was because the shot was actually filmed the other way.
Yeah,
it was swapped around, and that's why like there are scenes where it literally moves from here to here to here to here, and that's why it's so bad. You don't really see that in Star Trek. Once they get it, they tend to get it right 99% of the time.
Like it's certainly at this stage of time now, they have enough people to do jobs for that. Like in the original series, like the first 2 seasons of Next Generation, you'll see continuity fuck ups the entire time. But that's also just the production just gets better with more money and more experience and all that sort of stuff.
By the time you get to Voyager, and it's certainly an episode like this, you don't notice continuity errors, because if they're there, they're very, very subtle. They're very, very small, and you don't care because everything else is so good. So I think I'm going to agree with you with regards to this. I like we said it as well. You said it in the episode. The contrast between the absolutely shit house that is Voyager, and then the time ship, on how pristine it is, how perfect it is, even the colors and things like that, and how amazing that was. But for me, like, you only have to look at the bridge, and how fucking fantastic it looked in bits. Like in bits, and like that is fucking amazing. So I'm going to echo what you said. I'm going to go with 10.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
This is a naturally like there's a few categories where I think this episode is going to be naturally strong on, and this is one of them. Where like this is where like they need to prioritize this to make the episode work. And I think while there are going to be some categories where I think it's going to be naturally in like hindering just as a concept, this is one where it actually like, oh no, this is where we can flex. This is where we can show off how good we actually are at putting this episode together. And on that topic, I'm going to talk about writing. So, I can imagine, and I say this as someone who's currently working on a piece where like there's going to be massive jumps in internal timeline. It is so fucking hard to write an act in a vacuum like this, because for us, we're watching basically an hour and a half of this sci-fi show in like completely standalone, nothing else to it. However, when you're writing in this environment, because you're trying to basically condense a full year into 95 minutes, and you're not doing it so that you're doing like a scene here in this day or whatever else, you're picking specific moments in that time to focus in on. And one rule you're always told, and the one rule that's always been kind of drilled in my head in terms of writing, is that you keep your timeline short. If you're doing, like, say, a novel or a show or some description, you normally keep the timeline short. You don't do these big pregnant breaks in between. And the reason being is because, especially for a novel, you lose the reader. The reader gets confused over, like, okay, where the fuck are you going? With certain TV shows and movies, you have a bit of leeway. Like The Lord of the Rings technically breaks that rule by having this huge grand adventure that takes months, but it's a fucking grand adventure. You can get away with it. But you're condensing what is essentially a huge book, a huge novel, where all of this told you in this detail into a 2 to 3 hour movie, which in of itself is a long fucking movie.
Yeah.
Does it feel like 2 or 3 hours? No, because everything connects well together. Everything makes sense in that time. So in a TV show, then when you're trying to do bigger jumps in that time and these scenes in a vacuum, what the difficulty is trying to jump in and go, okay, this is day 77. What are these characters going to be like right now? What is the hazards they're going to come across? And then that opens the kind of worms of what does the ship look like? Who has died? Who has survived? Like, what's the environment around them? Have they got enemies, villains, all this sort of stuff? That is a can of worms that you need to open every single scene. Up to the point where, like, okay, it's probably a good thing we only got to day 203, because if we had gone the extra 365, we need another fucking episode. You know what I mean? Not as a Voyager would have got that far. Let's be fair, but
No,
like
definitely not.
But that's the kind of worms you open. So and that's a challenge then for the actors as well, which I think overall they do a good job in, because again, it's up to them now to go, okay, you're now day 186 and this terrible thing that's happened. Get into the mindset of, like, you've been through a war and go. That's a challenge for them as well. But again, this is their 4th season of this. They are loving challenges like this because they know the characters so well now. But for a writer to come in now and go, okay, let's look at this character. How will this character respond after these 6 months? And is it so different that we'll lose the audience compared to, say, how we know them normally? And I think, again, that's, I think, where we might lose a point or two, because that is so inherently difficult to do. That's very hard to do right. And that's my central point. So I am taking a point away or two, because I think, just generally speaking, it's so hard to do something like this, where I'm giving them all the plaudits for the physical parts of the episode to do really well. On the actual, shall we say, the stuff that, like, you need a kind of a smaller window of time to do well, it's so hard to pull all these little threads together and get them all right. So I think the one kind of, like, and I think this will come up in a different category as well, I think the way Chakotay ends up kind of going in the second episode kind of exemplifies that for me, because you're seeing you see Janeway and Tuvok and people changing the entire episode anyway, and you kind of understand where they're coming from. But because Chakotay is always such a fringe character in the mix anyway, when you see him totally going, I think this Anarchs guy has a point. It's like, okay, let's fucking go back to day 100 and see where you got that from. You know what I mean? So those were, like, those are inherently plot holes you just can't escape, because it's so that you have so much ground to keep up in. So with that kind of big kind of, like, inherent flaw in mind, I still think they did fairly well. Like, they did flesh out the Anorax character. They fleshed out why he's doing it. I don't think he's a particularly good character personally. I'll get into that later on. But I think they did it enough to say, okay, he's a good villain. He will work for this episode. So I'm gonna go with 8 for writing, personally. I think that's in keeping keeping with the plot holes and flaws that they have naturally in the episode.
I'm going to agree with you there, because, as you said, to write something like this is so incredibly difficult that you are bound to make mistakes because it's so hard. It's not a normal episode. It's not like we're going to go to war, or we have to go through the wormhole and find the fountains. Or we have to go fight a Borg. It's not that. It's something so different, something they've never really done before, that it was going to be difficult. And for me, I probably would have gone higher, but for the fact that you gave me those points, and I'm like, okay, I actually really agree with you there, because the writing for it was mostly good. But as you say, there was these little flaws, and I think part of the flaws were mostly to do with Anorax. because, as you say, he wasn't just single-minded. It was like he was single-minded, and he was like, actually, yeah, I'm kind of a bad guy, but this is why I do it. And like, no, lads, you did that wrong.
Yeah. See,
Did that
I'm keeping those points for
Yeah, no, I
another
get you. Yeah, so we'll
episode.
we'll we'll keep it for
Yeah.
later on. But yeah, no, I'll agree with you there. We'll go with 8.
Yeah, I think so. I think overall, I think everyone else is written particularly well. I think especially some like dialogues in the show, I think are really really well done. So I'm trying to be fair on that one. On that point, acting. Jerry, this is your wheelhouse. Take it away. What caught your eye in this episode?
Janeway. God's like, we knew Kate Mulgrew was good.
Yeah,
because she has the acting job. She really, really does. Anything you watch her in anything she's ever done. Like if you've never watched Orange Is the New Black, watch it. Because
I've seen bits of her in it. She's like
I remember watching the very first episode. The wife said, "Come on, we watch this." I'm like, "Right, watch it." And I was like, "Oh, Laura, that's your woman. That's Kate Mulgrew. That's Captain Janeway from Star Trek." She was like, "Am I going to hear about this every time you see her on the screen?" I'm like, "Yep, yep." Yes, you are. Yes, you fucking are. So she's fantastic in that, but she is quintessentially Captain Janeway. She basically you can see when it comes to Star Trek, and especially the older Star Trek, not the newer stuff like Picard and Discovery and whatnot. It's very obvious that the characters are written in such a way that they are, life should be better. Life is better. They haven't had any hardships and whatnot, and they're absolutely, they're fine people. Whereas you see, it's almost like a post-traumatic thing with her. She just kind of descends into somebody who's unreasonable, somebody who she believes she's doing the right thing by doing this, but she's really putting herself in mortal danger by the things that she's doing because she's reckless. She doesn't care anymore. It's a thing. It is a traumatic thing for her. She has been traumatized, and she doesn't fucking care anymore. It's a very very single-minded view of what she needs to do. But she, like Kate Mulgrew, is just, god damn, she's good. Like she's so good in this episode. I don't think there's a bad acting in any part of it. Anorex, I think, is you can't fault his acting. You can certainly fault the dialogue, but you can't fault his acting. His acting was actually really, really good. He is a fantastic actor, and to see him play a villain is even better. I'm like, yeah, this is good. I like this guy. But for me, like nobody, you even look at everyone else that was in the episode. You look at Tuvok, who was technically now living with a disability, he was blind, and he actually did really well. He actually pulled it off that, like, this guy actually can't see. He was like feeling around and doing certain things, even to the point where when he starts to shave, and you would look at it's what's his name, Tim Russ. Yeah. You would even look at Tim Russ and you'd say, right, well, he's so good in this episode because of his Vulcan training, because of how he's played a Vulcan for 4 years so far. Yeah. Because it's a thing where when he's shaving and he obviously nicks himself, but there's no emotion. He nicks himself and just goes, I've nicked myself. Shit.
Yeah,
there's no emotion.
That's a Vulcan's a freak out.
Like the Vulcans, newer Vulcans, with the exception of Spock, I think from Strange New Worlds, I think the newer Vulcans are showing far too much emotion. They don't have the deadpan.
Yeah,
my name is Jerry. I'm a Vulcan. They're all kind of like their eyes, their faces are showing too much. Like even look at Spock's Sarek from Discovery. Sarek was shown far too much emotion in the episodes that he was in. So even Tim Russ in this, he's just fucking phenomenal. But for me, Kate Mulgrew, if I could give her a 20, I would. But the thing is, there is not, as I said, there's not a single bad performance by anybody in this episode or in the doubleheader. But you do, I think, have to take it away, not because of their acting skills, but the fact that they've just been given dodgy script. And I'm like, I can't give it a 10. I would, if we were judging it solely on Kate Mulgrew, would be 20. It's fucking 20. I'd be like, no, we're putting an extra 10 points on this one. And I don't care what you say, John. You're getting an extra 10 points. You can't just judge it by one person's performance. You have to judge it by everybody's. And because of some dodgy dialogue, we have to take points away. So I think I'll go like the last category and go an 8.
I think that's a fair score for the episode overall, because I think what's also like I think Janeway, Anorax are certainly the two that really give it the score that you have there. I'd also say underrated would be Robert Picardo, because I think out of all the characters, he is the most he is the one that doesn't change as much. He kind of just sees how everyone else is doing, and he's kind of empathizing to that extent. But he also realized that like I'm not the one that's getting damaged and deteriorated here. I'm watching everyone that I've kind of I'm watching my proverbial family being torn apart here and dying and killing and so forth. And he's traumatized as well, So I think he's also a part of it. But my thing, what I kind of taking points away from in this category is that, again, this is down to the fact that you don't have that much time in a script where it covers a year. How's Harry Kim doing? How's his character doing? How's B'Elanna doing? Some of these characters are just madly okay with this, and you're thinking okay, for someone like Harry Kim, character-wise, surely he'd be kind of struggling with this. And same with B'Elanna. Would he be annoyed? Where was the baby in all of this? So I think there's a few kind of I know that's kind of dealt with the episode before this, but stuff like that, is this is where you need to kind of okay, we need to focus on this character. But again, with it being condensed into a 2-parter, certain things are going to be sacrificed, and that's one of them, and that's just the way it is. Anyway, I think that a category that doesn't necessarily need too much talk about, action. Again, naturally an episode where this is going to do well. The question is, Jerry, does it pay off? Does it work for you?
I think so. For everything from the initial attack by the Krenim, with the Chronoton torpedoes. I love the name of that, by the way, the Chronoton torpedoes. I think that's fantastic. Everything from that to the fights with Anorax and his ship at the end, absolutely fantastic. I think you would also have to factor in, it's not just about, say, the ships fighting, it's the action sequence of when the Mawasi, I think it's Mawasi ship, crashes into Voyager, and the bridge is basically exploding. Janeway is fucking being thrown all over the place, and you would be you could be forgiven to believe that she sits down in the captain's chair and looks at the view screen. The view screen's a little bit damaged, and she sees the ship. But no, it's actually not. When you look a little bit closer, you see the front of the bridge has been torn fucking off. It's a big, massive, gaping fucking hole, and it's a bleeding force field that's keeping her there. So yes, I think the action definitely delivered. We don't really need to go into too much detail because it delivered. Everything from the first fight to Deck 5 exploding to the fight with Anorax's ship, and then of course the ship, the bridge blowing up around Captain Janeway, and then of course time's up and she throws it down Anorax's throat, and that was fantastic as well. So to me, you can't go, it has to be a 10 because it was good. The action was good in this.
Okay, interesting. Because I was going to say 9, and I'll tell you why. Because I think for this episode where you had, again, it's a lot of the main story has been about Voyager falling apart, and those are where the action scenes come from, because it's combat after combat. Something goes wrong, this explodes, this is on fire, this is full of gas, we need to deal with this right away. Those are the action scenes. And I think in terms of the first episode, that's a 10, 100%. For me, the action in the second part of the episode is a 7 or 8, because that's the section where we explain why the Kremlin are doing this. And that kind of is like the proverbial gears going down on the on this particular like episode, and that's not a bad thing in a sense, because you do need pace. You need some shows need pacing. You can't have all action all the time, because we learned this with yesterday's Enterprise as well. Well, I think it's a very good example I use for yesterday's Enterprise, because I'm using the same kind of guide here. Is that that's a very action-packed episode in its own right. There's a lot of stuff happening going on, but when it's time to talk about the plot, it's like boom, a few gears down for 2 scenes, and we're back up and going, and away we go. And that's what a lot of the episodes we have with like that have high actions, they pick their time to slow it down and explain the plot. In this episode, those scenes are massive, because there's a lot they want to get through, and they want to talk it through in those moments, and then you come back to the Voyager. And naturally, I know why you did it, because it's a pain in the hole to just do Voyager gets destroyed for 90 minutes. Because how much more destroyed can we make this set? How much more? How many people can we kill off before it gets a bit cheesy or whatever else? Do we kill off Harry Kim for emotional damage? We've done that like 3 times in this fucking show.
Yeah, fucking kill him again. Kill him.
You know, so like how many times do we mutilate the cast for it to feel sympathy? The crowd, the audience is already sympathetic at this stage. So what else can we do?
Just leave Jerry Ryan alone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, she kind of got away fairly unscathed. Tuvok didn't, to be fair, but like that'll be the thing. What I say was missing was a kind of like a mid-episode drama, like a mid-dress of like, oh fuck, we're in trouble type of thing. I've lost 7 of 9. I've lost Tuvok or something like that. He gets blinded, absolutely, and that's kind of like a happy medium. But that's where I say like in terms of to kind of get the pacing right, I think they probably could have done with like say having Chakotay and Paris kidnapped at a certain different time, and then we go from there. But that's small fry. So I went with 9. So I think that kind of leaves us with 9.5 then in the end. So that's still a good score.
Yeah, but I tell you what, I'll go with 9 with you. I'll go on 9.
I'll go with 9? Okay.
Yeah, I'll go with 9 with you.
All right, fair enough. This next category is a full 10 for me, and that's effects. I don't think I need to say any more.
I don't think no. Let's just go with 10. There's no need to explain. We know why, because it was amazing.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's the big things, it's the medium things, and the small things. Like this is what this episode
and
gets.
Everything else in between. This was, if you could give it more than a 10, you would, because this, I think, was the single best we've ever seen, apart from maybe Enterprise during the Xindi arc. This was probably the best destruction of almost complete destruction of a ship without it falling apart. Yeah, absolutely fantastic. 10 out of 10.
So I checked just out of interest, and this is the 4th time we've given a 10 to effects. And what's really interesting is that we've given 10 for the effects for all very different things, and this is what happens to have a very broad category like this. So like the 10 in no small part is because of the animation itself. It's just brilliant. It's just fucking such a well done show. And we just said, like, objectively, no small part, like smaller lower decks just looks so good, it's gonna score high anyway. And this animation that takes fucking time. And energy and love. Trials and Tribulations, it's the green screening, it's the cheesiness of it, it's the getting back into the original fucking costumes and stuff like this. The other one is for the yesterday's Enterprise, and I think that's I've used this as kind of a comparison, because obviously this is the yardstick now we're comparing to. And what's very interesting is that with yesterday's Enterprise, the limitation at that time was having the big 7-foot model and not being able to destroy that and smash it up. Whereas now with CGI, let's fucking destroy this ship to its heart's content. You know what I mean? Yeah. You know. But at the same time, though, you think, okay, they might slack on the interior parts, because that's where the emphasis is going to be on the outside. That's the eye-catching thing. They don't. No. They don't dip on this at all. No. So, like, by comparison, this actually has better effects than yesterday's Enterprise. But again, we've already topped out on that. The burns, the scarring, everything, every small piece just works so fucking well. The very underrated thing in this episode is Chakotay, ironically enough. From seeing him with the beard and the disheveled, the hair down, mop down, dirty, one scene, and then smash back on the ship, and he's nice and clean and back to normal. Very small thing, but you just get the point across, like, we're keeping him well, blah blah blah, all this sort of stuff, you know. Because then the next scene after that then is back in the Voyager when everyone's on the coal face and absolutely haggard looking, you know. So it's good. It's good juxtaposition, and I'd say they probably don't make advantage of it completely, but it's enough to get you through the episode. Next up then is the score. I have quite a high grade for this episode, shockingly enough. What do you think of the score in this in this one, Jerry?
I would have a high grade too, because it music doesn't always have to be this big epic fucking thing, like the likes of the Way of the Warrior, or even you look at yesterday's Enterprise, big epic music, like Picard jumps over the side of the tactical console, not on my watch, and that'll be the day. Ha 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 ha. Boom, bum 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 bum. That type of thing. It doesn't have to be that all the fucking time. It can be very subtle. And like as you said, as we were watching the episode, you look at the bit where, oh, Seven's just going to go and go to deflector control and do something. The music changes. And what's going on? What's about to happen? And she goes in and she finds, oh fuck, here's a chronoton torpedo, and it's gonna blow up, and well, we're gonna be fucked, lads.
Yeah.
No, that changes, and it's every scene is different. This is not your typical Voyager episode where, like Next Gen, like Deep Space Nine, majority of the episodes have the same type of music. That's just the way it is. It's a budgetary thing. It's the way it is. There was nothing ordinary. There was nothing usual, typical Voyager about this score in this episode. This was different. This was, we have to emphasize how different this is. We have to show you everything is different, from the ship to the crew to the music to the writing to the everything. Everything was different, and this was good. The music was good in this, and I can be very critical of an episode if the music is not good. I think certain things, certain movies and certain shows, it's make or break with your music. If your music is not good, your show or your film will suffer. You look at The Lord of the Rings. If they'd have put a shitty composer with crappy music into that, those movies wouldn't have done as well. And it really is as simple as that. It can be as simple as the music being different that can fuck up something for you. And it's certainly not the case with this episode. I would be very happy to go 9 to a 10 for score in this episode, because I thought it was that good.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you on the 9. I think because I think much like the thing, it's not an episode where there's music all the time, and I think it's the episode is quiet when it needs to be quiet. In the same way where it's like usually when you're at Voyager, it's when the music kicks in because it's trying to get you to emote and sympathize and so forth. Whereas where it's at the on the Crenham ship, I think it's deliberately quiet and silent because it's so sterile compared to Voyager. It's so bland and engineered and dull that you don't actually the absence of music is getting your point across better than having something over that. And we've had episodes like that in time where absence is better than presence. The scene that really strikes on my mind, and I think again it's a good example of why you don't necessarily overcook the meat here on this one, is the scene where Tuvok is trying to shave, and all it is just him doing that and kind of naked himself and looking at himself in the reflection of a broken mirror, and the music is just ever so slightly there. Yeah. But the note of it is it's very sad. It's it's depressing. It's tragic.
You don't know why.
Yeah.
Until he cuts himself. And he reaches for the towel, and you realize
it's the hands scrambling around the sink. Yeah,
he can't see, and it is. If that was a silent scene, would his acting have gotten it over? Possibly, but it needed that. It needed that a little bit of emotional, heartstring pulling type of thing, and that's exactly what it was. It was 100%. That's why when you've got a good composer, they know exactly what they're doing. It just makes it so much better. It improves something. You know, you look at the movies, you look at the likes of First Contact, Star Trek First Contact, the fantastic score from that movie is just it's so good that they use parts of it for Picard. You know, it's that
Dead on,
good.
yeah.
It is absolutely spot on, and I think this really, really hits it for me.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Next up then is scenes. I think I'd be fair to say I don't think there's any massive memorable scenes until the final act, where it's Janeway versus the Crenums, and it's all leading up to that. I don't think there's any like there's a few like important scenes for the sake of the episode that are
Yeah.
big and they're important. Like again, Tuvok's moment there in the when he's shaving, I think is a big one.
Yeah.
Fewer small ones in between that work for the flow of the episode. However, what I would say as well, again with doubleheader, with so much time being passed throughout the whole thing, I noticed one or two absences in terms of scenes. And again, these are not continuity things, but I think like maybe this would have been better placed in this or this one. I found the scene with B'Elanna and Harry a bit redundant in the grand scheme of things.
Yes.
Like they're trapped in a turbo lift and they're and B'Elanna's having trouble with the baby and stuff like this. That ties in more with what happened with the episode with Kes. I get that. But it's redundant. It's unfortunately redundant, and it's the one thing. And I don't want to say that the scenes with Chakotay and Anorax are redundant as well, but they're a little bit too long for me. They're a little bit too much of an explainer trying to figure out what's going on. I think there's more work is done between the conflict between Paris and Chakotay at that stage. That's the actual scene, rather than keep coming back to going like to basically decide whether you're sympathizing with Anorax or not. Obviously, you're fucking not. That's not like the point is that Chakotay is sympathizing and so forth. Like that's a bit of like over showing as well to a certain extent. And overall, I think what's really a shocker for me in this is that there's two or three characters that just don't get a look in for this episode, which I think is a bit of a surprise because like this is the type of episode where they would be kind of picked off one by one, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like you would expected Harry to get bumped up by doing something fucking like naive, or B'Elanna to be too hot-headed and get in the way. Like we don't see her fixing anything in this episode, which I find very surprising. We don't find like Harry is not the one with the bright idea this time. Like he's helps with astrometrics and all that great and that stuff. That's great. But definitely they're really missing from this episode, which I think is a bit of a surprise. That being said, the Doctor and Janeway, their scenes are excellent.
Yeah.
The stuff on the time ship it works for what the episode is doing, and like I said, the actual final act is fucking excellent. I wouldn't change it for the world. The whole episode, the two-parter, has been leading up to that fucking punch the air moment of Janeway destroying the ship.
I think you're missing out on one very small one.
Okay,
but I think it was
I think I know what you're talking about.
Janeway and Tuvok saying goodbye.
Yeah, that as well, and the pocket watch.
Yeah,
very poignant, very small, but very important to the episode.
Yeah,
but yeah, to Tuvok and Janeway saying goodbye. And
I think that one because
is the reciprocation on the back, because the Vulcans don't do that. That's not a thing.
You also don't. You see, this goes to show you how far Janeway has gone in terms of her emotions and how broken she actually is that she would never in any other circumstance at any other time get emotional. She would have been like the Queen, doesn't show emotions, but she was showing emotion here, and then she realized I can't, I have to, and then she's like, right, okay, good luck, see you later. It's so good, so good. It's a couple of good scenes, not spectacular, but a couple of good scenes, I think. So what are you scoring it?
I want to give it an 8 because I'm being fair to it. I think most of it works. I think there's just one massive outlier there in terms of those two characters, but otherwise the show itself is fine for what it is. And like I said, it's the second part in particular was building up to a crescendo anyway, so it makes sense that like some of them were like smaller, like slower paced than the others. But I think certainly in the grand scheme of things, certain characters were missing their moment, which I found very surprising, especially for an ensemble show where, again, as I said, like there's certain things you were expecting them to do and they didn't. Whether there wasn't time for it. As I said, this is a concept for a season boiled down into a double header. it makes sense that stuff is gonna be left on the cutting room floor. But
Yeah.
I think for especially for like the ship is in disrepair. B'Elanna, get the fucking wrenches out. You know what I mean? Like we don't really see that, and that's very frustrating. You know. But otherwise, that's it. I think I give it an 8. That's
I'm going to agree with you. I'll go an 8 on that as well. Absolutely.
okay. Granted, and next up then is character, and this is probably my most contested category of the lot because I've got a lot of pros and a lot of cons, and
I think we know the pros and know the cons because we have been speaking about it.
We have been speaking
so
about
far,
that, yeah.
And again, it's nothing to take away from his actual performance, but it's just the dialogue that Anorex was given.
Yeah.
You wanted him to be stronger. You wanted him to be cold-blooded, even. Whereas he's cold-blooded, then he shows a glimmer, and then he's cold-blooded again. I'm like, no, lads, that didn't work.
Yeah.
You didn't do that right. You look at the opposite side of things, and you look at Janeway. So you look at Janeway, who's this staunch Starfleet captain who has literally descended into someone who is unrecognizable, who's someone who is not far away from the Equinox captain.
You read my mind, Jerry, because I was about to use that as an example.
Not far away from that, from Captain
Ransom.
Ransom.
Yeah.
To the point where her crew is gone. Her ship is gone. She's nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So she doesn't care. So she has descended not to madness, but descended into, I suppose, grief, depression, post-traumatic stress. Yeah. No faith in it. And she has essentially been broken.
Yeah.
And that's what Ransom was broken. That's why he did what he did. So she's been broken. So the contrast between her and Anorex. Again, I have to emphasize this. He wasn't a bad performance by him. It was just how he was written, and that's why it was. But it's the contrast with Janeway, and how well she was written. It was fucking fantastic. Everything she did, like talking to the ship. So maybe a little bit, she never talked to the fucking ship before. Come on, Voyager, now come on, you have to be good. You don't burn me. You have to be good. Come on. Very, very good. But it's a difficult one to actually score.
Yeah.
Because you're
as well, yeah.
Yeah. You're weighing the pros and cons, and you're like, the pros absolutely outweigh the cons, but by how much?
Yeah.
So I think for me, if Kate Mulgrew hadn't have done as good a job as she had done, I wouldn't be scoring this. But I think I'll go an 8.
Yeah, I think I'm flickering on the 7 to 8 here. I think to do the characters themselves just, I think 8 is a fair score.
I think so,
because I think I'm also kind of factoring in as well. I was making these points in the writing as well. It's very hard for the actors. Well, it's not hard. It's their job. Like they have to get into the mindset of like, this is what the character would be like after 6 months of this every day, every hour, having to try and fix the ship, and it's getting worse. So what mindset are those characters going to be in? And what's very interesting is that you see how those characters would respond in a situation like this. Again, I see outliers. I don't see B'Elanna. I don't see Harry reacting as I think they should. The show focuses on Tuvok, 7, Neelix to a certain extent, which is shocking to say, and Chakotay and Janeway. Paris doesn't get a sniff that much either. Paris is the one that he fixed it. He got it done. Which is, to be fair, is probably what he would be doing in this emergency anyway. We just kind of took it verbatim that that's what he would do. But in terms of actually demonstrating how they would look, you see this kind of weird thing with like Chakotay kind of trying to get into the head of Anorex and kind of sympathize. It's like, what the fuck are you doing that for? Like, you wouldn't be like, would you be like this on the normal times? Like, you have the Doctor trying to like basically trying to keep not really keep everyone sane, but like he is the one, he can't change in a world where everything is in flux. So how is he responding? 7 straight as a die. She's not changing that much, but she says in dialogue, "I become more independent over these 6 months." It was like,
Yeah.
well, that's all I need to know, because she's self-analytical. She will tell you if she has changed.
Yeah.
And likewise, Tuvok, I think is the big star turn in this, because when have you ever seen Tuvok that vulnerable when he's not like in like mating season, or when he's got some sort of like fucking alien affliction? He is he is genuinely vulnerable.
Mhm.
You know, you don't see a Vulcan without all of its senses, with all of their senses and sensibilities. So he is dependent on other people, and even again with the acting being so subtle and the way it's working, he is very clearly disturbed about this. You know, and so I think there is a star turn. Again, I think the biggest con is the Anorak's character just being so. It's like they tried to make a multi-layered villain, but what they've done instead is they've made so like the layers are completely contradictory. Like, is he a scientist doing stuff for time? Is he a fucking megalomaniac destroying the world? Is he a sympathetic fucking villain where like he's trying to bring back his wife? These three things cannot be the same unless you get the right and well exact spot on, and they don't, unfortunately. Yeah. If you want to look at an episode where they do get it right, I refer you to Equinox next season, where they do pretty much the exact same story beats and they fucking nail it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. That's an example of where they look at this and revise it and get it right.
Yeah.
And one day we will review Equinox, because it is a fucking amazing two-parter. So that's an 8 then. So now we're on to the consequences of this episode. Another weird one to score, because how do you pick out the consequences of an episode that fixed itself in the end and then everything's fine? Tricky one, isn't it?
Yeah. There are none. There are literally none.
It's a tough one, isn't it? Because like okay, we get astrophysics. That's about it. Like that was going to happen anyway, I think.
The thing is, I don't want to give it a 0, because that's just being silly. But 5?
I mean, they're not bad. The way I would look at it is they're not good or bad consequences. It just kind of happens.
Yeah. So I'd go. Let's go middle of the road 5. We leave it at that.
Yeah, I gotta even look at the previous episodes where like the kind of proverbial bottom ones where everything is fixed in the end. We've gone 3 to 5 on average.
Yeah.
Actually, no. Do you know what the best example is? Is Tapestry. Tapestry was one where like it all got like dealt with in the end, and then we gauged it as a 5. So I think 3 to 5, I think, is fair for an episode that sorts itself out at the end, and we move on. So,
I think because it was such a good episode, and it was, and a lot of good things. I'd say we'll be generous and we'll give it a 5.
We give it a 5. Okay, I think we're doing it justice there, because as I said, like there's some categories that do kind of peak at 10, so we go with that. So let's see now how this episode ranks compared to its colleagues. So we have the full list of episodes coming up on screen now. You will see the final score. How's your maths, Jerry? Where do you think this episode landed?
I think it's in the mid-80s.
You are dead on with that. So I will tell you what the top 10 is now. So I mean, joint 10th place, as it were, is the Andorian Incident and the Skin of Evil, both on 83 points. Then we have No Small Parts from Lower Decks, that's 9th with 83.5, joint with The Visitor from Deep Space Nine, so they're joint 8th, I should say, correcting myself there, on 83.5. Then we have The Emissary, the opener to Deep Space Nine, in 7th on 84. And then now 6th place in our top 10 and our highest ranked Voyager episode to date, Year of Hell, 85 out of 100.
I have to say, I am surprised, but it's only when, see, this is the thing. It's only when you watch the episodes and actually analyze them. It's not about just watching them; it's actually analyzing them. This was the one I was most worried about, and I said this at the start. This was the one I was like, this is going to get a 95 or something. This is going to be in the pale moonlight, and I didn't need to be worried at all.
No. In the end, no.
In the end, we still have our leader, yesterday's Enterprise, which is a very deserved leader. I think it will get knocked off the top spot, eventually, because I will make sure of that. I'll make sure of that because there is a double header coming.
Oh yeah.
There is a double header coming, and I am telling you now. You only have to look at everything from the scenes to the score to the effects to the acting to the consequences. Absolutely all of it is 9s and 10s. I'm saying it now. It's 9s and 10s. I'm like, yep. Yesterday's Enterprise, it's going to get a good run for its money.
It really fucking is.
It really,
and like
really
I said, we have a lot of steps along the way as well. So you never know, something might surprise us.
Yes.
But yes, as a reminder of the top 5 at the moment, 5th place is Amok Time on 88. Best of Both Worlds from the Next Generation is 90.5. Joint second is In the Pale Moonlight of Deep Space Nine fame, and A Quality of Mercy, the season 1 finale of Strange New Worlds, both on 91, but well ahead. For now anyway, is Yesterday's Enterprise on 95.5. And we thought it was going to be hard to top 91. 95.5 is a hell of a challenge, but as I said, we have something in the pipe in brewing for the next double header that might challenge it. But overall, get it back on mission here. Year of Hell gets an 85 out of 100. Overall, again, I think we've done a justice here. It's a strong episode in some categories, and a bit flat in others, but overall, it's a strong episode either way.
Yeah,
you know, and that's it. That's our time mark done. That's
time mark done. Yeah.
Yeah, there we are now. So we're on to some uncharted territory now, coming soon on this show. So, as I said, this is it now for our latest arc. So, thank you for watching this episode and various other episodes from the last run. It's been a fun set of episodes we've done. To be fair, like time episodes are never never boring. They can be good or bad, but they're never boring. But we've done quite well with this, considering that 3, I want to say, of our top 10 are from this arc: Quality, Mercy, Yesterday's Enterprise, Year of Hell. I can't recall where the rest of them are coming from. Well, The Visitor actually technically was part of our arc as well, to be fair.
It was, yeah. So that's 5. That's what 4 in the top 10.
Yeah.
Are
Visitor was kind of our one-week switch to.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, I suppose to a lesser extent, the proper time arc, 3 of the top 10 came from, and then the arc previously was where we got The Visitor and City United Forever and so forth. So yeah, no, we've done quite well here. So either way, guys, that's the end of this arc, and when we come back on the Best of All Worlds podcast, we are going to go again with a brand new arc of stories. Myself and Jerry were talking off camera before we started on where to go next. We are intrigued, we're excited, a little bit terrified. Bit of a hint there for what's coming next. And indeed, hopefully there won't be any arguments or conflicts about the arc that follows that as well. Again, it's another little hint for you to keep you going for the year. But we will reveal all in the next episode when we review our next edition. But until then, you'll just have to wait. In the meantime, Jerry Soul, this is the time where we self-promote you, because you are the star of the show and I am not. So what has been happening with yourself as of late? You've obviously had a good Christmas and New Year, so I hope.
I had a lovely, quiet Christmas. This was my first year cooking the dinner myself. No, I didn't do it on my own. I had help. My wife did help me. But we put on a fantastic spread, and I'm certainly going to be tooting my own horn here, but I definitely think it was probably the nicest turkey I've ever had. It was extremely juicy. Even the next day when we eating the sandwiches, they were still the meat was still juicy. It was so nice. But it was exactly what I wanted. I had a nice quiet Christmas Eve, nice quiet Christmas day. And then things started to go downhill slightly after that, because on Stevens' Day, I poisoned myself.
Oh dear.
Yes, poisoned myself on Stevens' Day. I had been eating continuously for most of the day. Turkey sandwiches, ham sandwiches, chocolate crisps, all the usual stuff. So I think if I had just stuck to those things, I'd have been fine. absolutely fine. But no, what did Jerry decide to do? No, Jerry decided, I will take the cheese board out, which in itself would have been fine. But then I had got a like a platter of olives and a tub of hummus.
Oh, for God's sake.
And we're not 100. I'm 99% sure, but we're 99% sure the hummus has actually gone off, or there was an issue with it, because let's just say I had a very, very upset stomach for 2 days. So for the rest of Stephen's Day, and then for the day after Stephen's Day, I was essentially on the couch, and on the couch, but in the bathroom every 5 minutes.
Jesus.
So yeah, it didn't go well, but it was a nice relaxing time. I had a good bit of time off. I had 11 days off. I was kind of on call, we'll say, on the 28th. But I texted my boss saying, listen, if you need whatever you need me to do, I'm literally sitting at my computer now. I can no, you enjoy your week off, go on. So it was a nice, lovely 11 days off, which was fantastic. First day back yesterday. The bad part about that was in office, so I was up at 6. I had to get to work for that. But yes, no, it's a nice relaxing bit of time off. I'm very happy with it. I'm loving the fact that I'm getting time off at Christmas, because there were years working in my other job where I'd be working up to Christmas Eve. I'd have Christmas Day off and then straight back in to work on Stephen's Day. So very, very happy with having the time off. I actually only realizing this now, I won a prize 2 days before we finished up for work. We had a team meeting, and there was a wheel of names.
Ooh.
And my name came out, and I was like, "Oh, what do I win?" And you were like, "Oh, Jerry, fantastic! You get to you get to choose which one of the EPT dates to do." And I was like, "Great! What does that mean?" I was like, what the hell is that?
What the hell is an EPT?
Yeah,
That's some Bitcoin I'm not aware of.
Without going into details, I work for an online poker company, an online casino company, and the EPT is the European Poker Tour.
Ooh.
So what that means is that they do tournaments in various European locations. So I was looking at the locations, and one was Barcelona. I was like, oh, Barcelona. One was Paris. I was like, oh, Paris, okay. One was Cyprus. And everyone's saying, go to Cyprus, do Cyprus, do Cyprus. I was like, I don't know. Because the last one I looked at went, I've never been to this place before. I probably wouldn't go to this place ordinarily because it's probably one of these really expensive places. And if I go to it, I'll never go back to it again after that. But it was Monte Carlo.
Whoa, well now.
Yeah.
Has
now,
to be done.
There's a little bit of a discussion as to exactly the terms of the win, because a few of my colleagues were saying that there are 2 tickets, but it's no, you normally get 2 tickets, so I take, say, me and my wife, or me and my cousin or whatever. But apparently it's me and a colleague that go. But then I heard now I couldn't believe when I heard this. I heard that the person who won the last one, essentially, it was an all expenses paid one, which apparently this is as well, but to the point where the flights were first class, and I'm like, whoa, first class flights and 5-star hotel and this, that, and the other. I'm like, wow. But the person who won it the last time downgraded the flights from first class to standard and brought their family.
Okay. So you might think you might be able to do the same then with the precedent set.
Well, there's precedence now. So, but the thing is, I need to find out. I'm assuming there's some sort of budget towards it. So I haven't found out the details yet. So I'm going to find out soon enough. So we will see. But yeah, good news. Good news all around. So not too bad. Yeah. And
if this works out for you now, I'm fully expecting you to do one of these episodes in a full tux. Like that's.
I'd have no problem doing that.
That's grand. Just, no, just so we have it on record. That's all. So
Yeah,
just checking.
no problem doing that. I will say as well that I am hoping within the next week or two. I wasn't going to do it this week simply because of we're just going back to just finished holidays, getting back to work. But I will be getting back to streaming on
Very good.
Twitch. I'll get back to streaming on Twitch. Hopefully from next week, I'll probably just start with the 1 day a week to start me off, and then after that, then we'll go back to the 2 days a week again. But I'll be going back to streaming again. I'm really looking forward to doing that because it's been so long. What I'll be streaming, I don't know. I think I'm going to try a few different things, few new things, few old things, and see how we get on. But the Twitch channel is Jerry Souls VIP, so it's GERRYSOULS VIP, and that's on Twitch. I know there's been a lot of things happening with Twitch with regards to new rules and whatnot, and you're starting to see a lot of female creators. Basically, I assume they're nude, but you don't see anything. So I'd just like to say to all the people out there that if you really want me to, I will. But more than likely, I'll keep my clothes on.
That's good. That's a relief, because otherwise, I think I would have the sheer amount of bleach I would have needed to like I would have like I have drain cleaner at home, but
that's all.
I'm just being honest, like no one wants to see mine either. Like that's being honest too. Like I look like a fucking sad marshmallow the best of days. So like I don't want to fucking encroach on Twitch's territory either. So in any case, but that's where we're at the moment. So yeah, we will hopefully hear more from Jerry Souls VIP Twitch when we come to you next with our next episode of Best of All Worlds. But by all means, leave us your comments down below if you agree with our score for Year of Hell, if you think we're too low or too high. We'd love to hear from you either way. And by all means, give us some shouts for our next story arcs. We're happy to hear from you. We're happy to see where you guys would like to see any episodes in particular you want us to review. We'll certainly keep them in mind for future editions, because like I said, we like doing arcs like this. Gives us an excuse to watch certain episodes and then chain them all together. And like I said, we kind of have a working plan for where we want to go for the year of Best of All Worlds. Don't worry, it's not going away or anything. We have the year planned out as intended here. It might change one or two depending on the mood we have, but either way, we know what we're looking for, and we will reveal all in the next episode. So until then, thank you very much for watching. If you like our stuff, by all means, subscribe to Nerds or Us for more of the same, and we'll see you next time on Best of All Worlds, and we'll leave you as ever with this.